trip from Saskatchewan are getting ready for the 4th consecutive West final to be played here. And it is going to be a mammoth crowd, 55,000 strong, expected to be here today. And one of those on the field who's going to battle for it, Scott Schultz, who is with Karen Larson. Karen?
Thank you, Elliot. Scott, you said earlier, despite a dominant opinion, that your team, the Roughriders, are not the underdogs in today's game. Why do you feel that way?
There's just no way. Look at our record. Look at what we've done all the season. We've been consistent, and we've been dominant, and we're going to come out here today and do that.
Noise was a huge factor that worked against the Roughriders last year in this game. How have you compensated for that this year?
It's all about making plays. We come out and make more plays at the very beginning. It's going to shut these fans up, and it's going to be quiet in here, and that's the way it's going to be.
Both teams have said they respect the opponent, and yet there is a lot of dislike between these two teams. So is what happened in the regular season going to spill over into today's game?
I don't think so. Those kind of things are kind of minor hiccups. The magnitude of this game is far more important than any silly little grudge that could have happened.
Scott Schultz, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Elliot?
Scott Schultz has become a huge interview favorite on the CFL on CBC. There is the meeting with the running backs earlier on, about half an hour ago. You see Wes Cates. He is going to be in the lineup today. He's been bothered by a foot injury. It was decided that there was no worse he could do to it, and it was up to him whether or not he could handle the pain and play. He has decided to go. There is DJ Flick, who was injured in practice this week. Flick is also here, so Khalil Hill and Josh Ronick will not dress for the Riders today, so these two can get in the lineup. Flick, so important to the passing game with Matt Dominguez out. And we'll start with you, David, as we bring the panel in. Wes Cates' decision to play, what can you expect from him?
Without a doubt, this is a guy who is driven, and he's going to have to push it all the way. And anytime you are injured in a big game, you've got that extra adrenaline, and you're going to take it as far as you go till the foot falls off.
Well, and the problem being a foot is that he can actually deal with the pain, but he's got to be north and south. The ability to cut sideways is very difficult, and that foot is good. If he can get downhill and be able to make positive yards, great. He's going to be an asset. But if he's got to start making cuts, I don't know. I question that decision.
Well, if Saskatchewan's going to win today, they need Wes Cates, because Wes Cates, he allows them to have that balance, because Kerry Joseph's going to throw the ball all over the field today. I mean, he has a big, strong arm. But instead of Joseph running the ball all day, they need somebody to counterbalance, and that's what Wes Cates can bring to the table.
If they can't establish the run, whether it's Kerry Joseph or Wes Cates, that gives the freedom to the BC Lions to put little guys in. They may play 6, 7 defensive backs, and that makes them extremely fast, sideline to sideline.
But don't forget the pocket Hercules, Corey Holmes, because he's a guy that will go one-on-one with the linebacker and back, or defensive back, and do big things in the open field.
Henry, last year the story in this game was the noise. It drove Saskatchewan distraction. They couldn't get their offense going. What does Kerry Joseph have to do against this big crowd today?
Well, just talking to Kerry before the game, you know, he said they worked on the foot lift, so definitely look for the hand signals to wave the receivers through as far as to send them in motion. But they worked on the foot lift, which would allow them to time it up, give the center a chance to look at the defensive line, make the calls, and snap it.
Well, you know what? He's got to be able to just stay composed. When you get all of this noise, it is about communication, like you said, Hank. But you know what? It gets very confusing in here when you have noise going through this roof. He's got to be able to stay as the leader of that team, keep everyone composed.
As Nolan Richardson said, the Arkansas Razorbacks, it's 40 minutes of hell. For Saskatchewan's defense to win this game, they're going to have to go 60 minutes of hell, and this is something that they have yet to really show me, a full 60 minutes of hell.
You know what? You're not supposed to use that word on Sunday, David. Greg, last word to you.
And they have to stay aggressive, being the Saskatchewan defense. Reggie Hunt played a great game, led the defense for Saskatchewan with the most tackles, but he was aggressive. They got to be able to attack the BC Lions.
All right, when we come back, we'll take a look at the home team, the defending Grey Cup champions. That's who Kerry Joseph has to attack this week. What do they have in store for him? We'll discuss that next.
Throwing for the end zone. Touchdown. Roy Simon. Throwing the deep ball. Cranduz has got it. Touchdown, Saskatchewan.
54 years of Grey Cup memories have been made on CBC. 54 years of championship triumphs, of heartbreaks, and of all-out excitement. Now, join us for the best one yet. The 95th Grey Cup Championship, exclusively on CBC. Live from Toronto, featuring a thunderous Rogers Grey Cup halftime performance with Lenny Kravitz. It's Canada's biggest party. CFL on CBC. 95th Grey Cup Championship, November 25th.
Oh, you can feel the energy growing in this building. The provincial flag of BC, the Lions fans getting the Thundersticks ready. There's going to be official in the booth in this game to make sure they're not piping in any illegal crowd noise. Roy Simon with Karen Larson now.
Thank you, Elliot. Well, Roy, the Saskatchewan-BC rivalry has been long established. This season, perhaps the fireworks more so than the past. Do you expect that animosity to carry over into today's game?
I expect a tough game. I mean, obviously, you know, it's been tough every time we play for the last few years. I don't expect anything dirty or anything like that, but you know, tempers will be high, and it'll be a tough game.
This place is going to be packed to the rafters, 55,000. How much of an advantage is that for the BC Lions?
I think it can play a huge advantage. Obviously, when the quarterback's trying to bark out his signals and get communication with his receivers, I think it can cause a problem. So we want our fans to be loud.
Thank you very much for doing this. Good luck today, Roy.
Thank you.
Elliot, back to you.
You know, there's so many lines that come to mind as I look at this picture. Thank you very much, Karen.
Don't start.
But I don't want to get in any trouble. In the tradition of the BC, hey, she's not joining in. What's
going on?
What's with the bad team spirit? In the tradition of the BC Lions, who've grown mustaches for this game, all the cheerleaders but one have got them too. Guys, there's no question. The biggest factor is going to be Kerry Joseph. Can he run and pass for 500 yards, or can Cameron Wake, David, in the BC defense contain him with a week to prepare?
You know what? You're going to have to, but I look at this, since it is a family show, as one of the coaches told me, hey, stats are like fast cars. You get them alone, you can do what you want with them. Stats mean nothing in this game, and this is all about who's going to slow down who in order to win this game.
I'll tell you guys, can he do it? Yes, but is he? I don't think so.
Because not against this big guy.
Not against these guys, because I'll tell you one thing about BC's defense. They know what to do, when to do, and how to get it done. And when it comes to a guy like Kerry Joseph, trust me, they'll put guys in the box with similar speed and guys who can get around the field and keep up with a guy like Kerry Joseph, just so he can't scramble.
And they are not going to allow him to use his legs to beat them. He's going to have to throw 35, 40 times to be able to beat the BC Lions, and that's the strategy. Over the games they played this year, he's only averaged 20 yards rushing per game.
By the way, I can barely hear you guys, which is a good thing. So I'm imagining how Kerry Joseph is going to deal with this. Jarius Jackson Henry, as an opponent, how have you seen him grow as the season continues?
I'll tell you, one thing about BC, they always make sure they have great quarterbacks in the fold. I don't know how well he's done it over the years, but bringing in a guy like Jarius Jackson, he's had the ability to come in, learn as he's progressed throughout the season, became a much better manager of the game, not just as a quarterback, but as a manager, deciding when to run, when not to run, when to make the good decision, and when to check it down. And that's the reason why these guys are 9-2 under Jarius Jackson. That's the reason why I picked those guys today.
But don't forget Joe Smith. Just having that big back there and able to run will take a lot of pressure off of a quarterback and allow him to learn this game a lot faster.
And he is the catalyst that makes that offense work. But you know, it allows them to methodically control the ball game. And so that is the #1 goal of the Saskatchewan defense. Stop Joe Smith, and you stop that offense.
You know, we talked last game at halftime about how much patience that Pinball Clemens would have with Michael Bishop, and he rode him the whole way. But Greg, you know Wally Buono as well as anybody on this panel. He has said he will not make the decision with his heart like he did in 2004. Do you think there's any danger if it starts slow for Jackson that Buono will have a short leash today?
Well, it's not going to be a short leash. It's always going to be a very long leash with Wally Buono. But when you have Dave Dickinson on the sidelines, that's a great resource to have.
But it also depends on what Saskatchewan does. If they come out like Calgary, sorry, Henry, and they don't score right off the bat, they don't keep scoring and miss those opportunities, you know, I don't see why Jarius Jackson inside.
And of course, like I said earlier, I never want to see the quarterback pulled ever. But in this case, with a guy like Dave Dickinson on the bench with the proven record that he has and what he did to him last year, hey, if it's there, make the move.
Last quick point, Greg. Quick.
I was just to say, Dave Dickinson on the sideline, he is So cerebral. He makes great adjustments for that offense while he's on the sideline as well. Great resource to have there as well.
We know one team that will be in the Grey Cup, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Will the other be BC or Saskatchewan? Somebody answer that phone. We'll find out next. Mark Lee, Chris Walby, Karen Larson, they are here in Vancouver as Carl Kidd leads out the Lions to defend their West Championship.
5 receivers set. Time. Throwing in the end zone for Bruce. He's got it. Touchdown, Toronto. Touchdown, Armstrong. On this gorgeous day on the West Coast for the 4th year in a row, the road to the Grey Cup in the West runs through Vancouver.
It's about to go down.
And on this afternoon in the BC locker room, there is a quiet confidence. The Lions are the CFL's dominant team. And over in the Saskatchewan room, a pregame tension. Butterflies abound as the underdogs contemplate the way ahead. A frenzied wave of green momentum has been building all season long. And today, it will come face to face with one of the most talented teams in CFL history. The dominant Lions have it all. A punishing ground game. A deep arsenal of explosive offensive threats. And a defense that strikes fear into every team that stands before them. But with the Rider Nation behind them, Saskatchewan will set their reservations aside and fight to deliver their fans what they so desperately crave. A berth in the Grey Cup. The hour has finally arrived. It's destiny versus dominance in this winner-take-all rematch. It's the West Division Championship Final on a glorious day here on the West Coast in Vancouver. The Saskatchewan Roughriders meet the BC Lions for the 3rd time in 4 years in this West Division Final. Home field, yes, it could be a huge factor for the Lions this afternoon, as crowd noise may well be a major problem again this year for Saskatchewan. Remember, they had all kinds of trouble with the noise 1 year ago in this very venue, in this very game. And many observers say this could be the most hostile environment for a visiting team in the Canadian Football League. Good afternoon, I'm Mark Lee with the big man, Chris Welby, and welcome to the CFL on CBC, the West Division Championship. You can't hear yourself think, it's so loud here, but Jarius Jackson has stepped into the breach for the Lions this year at quarterback, and he gets his first playoff start here today, Chris Walby. What a chance, what an opportunity for him on this very play. In the last minute of a late September game against the team he plays today, Saskatchewan, his leadership was galvanized.
Well, that was a defining moment for Jarius Jackson, and it established him as a starter. This team tells you that he gives us the best chance to win, and that's amazing when you factor in that Dave Dickinson, the backup quarterback, today was the MVP in last year's Grey Cup game. Now, another thing is that since he had that game, and he's only averaged 44% completion rate against Saskatchewan, he has thrown for 10 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions, so he really has developed as a quarterback. Watch for him. He doesn't get rattled. He's played in front of big crowds at Notre Dame, Mark, so he's used to this noise.
Let's talk about his counterpart for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, the West Division nominee for Most Outstanding Player, Kerry Joseph. Wow, last week led the Riders in the West Division semifinal. Can he do it again this week?
You know what? We always hate to hear that old adage. We don't want to put everything on the quarterback's shoulders. Well, I'm going to break tradition because everything is on the quarterback's shoulders today. Kerry Joseph is the one man that can really help this team to victory. He's got to run with the football. He's got to get to the outside of this defense because they've got a great defense, and he's got to find his receivers. Now, his receivers got to help him. But I tell you, the last time he played, he had a nice game, 350 yards, couple touchdowns. He's got to continue on that and continue on what was probably one of the most outstanding performances, gutsy play I saw last week.
He sure looks like a quarterback who won't be denied. All right, that said, how about your game notes?
Well, let's talk about our game notes, and we're going to start with Saskatchewan. Negate the noise. It's important for this offense to get out of the gate early, negate this 55,000 plus fans, and get some points on the board. On defense, Superman must stumble. I'm talking about G-Roy Simon because he is the one that beat him the last game. The hottest receiver that BC has right now, 107 yards a game in the last 8 games. On offense for the BC Lions, this Joe must show. I'm talking about Joe Smith. He is a one-man wrecking crew. And if they stop him, they got some opportunities, but I expect Joe Smith to carry the ball early and often. And on defense, Fantastic Four. Hey, 61 quarterback sacks. Now here's a better fact. 41 of them from the 4 starting defensive linemen. They could get out, flat out after the quarterback. Watch for these guys to have a great game.
Ken Austin has done a marvelous job in his rookie season as head coach of the Green and White, rewiring the Roughriders, finishing second in the West, 12 wins this year, their best record since 1970, and last week's home playoff win, the first time that has happened since 1976 when Ron Lancaster was at quarterback for the Roughriders. Wally Buono, his team has finished first 12 times in 18 years as a head coach. Unbelievable statistics. His Lions in the West Final for the 4th year in a row, and he has guided the Lions to first place this year with 14 wins. That's a BC team record. His team is a powerhouse. They're healthy at just the right time coming into this West Final. Fans standing here at BC Place, but they're not all in the stadium yet. There's been a delay trying to get them into the park. An estimated 55,000 expected here today. So a delay on the field. And we'll go down to the sidelines and once again welcome Elliot in the panel. Elliot?
Thank you very much, Mark, as they do try and get all of these fans into the building. Henry, you heard Chris talk about that front 4 for BC, 41 sacks between them. Why are they so good, and how does a team have to go at them?
Well, I mean, the way I look at it, it starts with those 2 defensive tackles, Tyrone Williams and little Reggie Hunt, you know, I call him. But these 2 guys, they demand the double teams, and that's what frees up Cameron Wake and Johnson on the end, single team, and all of a sudden they're getting to the quarterback and making big plays.
Normally, when you have a defensive line, you got 2 great ends, or you have a guy in the middle, and it creates an uneven pocket. But with these guys, you've got everyone just coming in at all angles, and there is no place for the quarterback to normally step up or
get outside.
Thank you. I'm just really excited. There are 55,000 people here, and I think, as Coach said, my pee is hot, and I'm ready to go.
Well, they're also very versatile because, you know what, we were talking earlier, a great front, you don't need to have 4 guys just get after the quarterback. You have guys who can drop off in coverage on that front 4 or be able to pressure and then sit back and spy a quarterback like Kerry Joseph. So they're extremely versatile, and that's what makes them so good.
How do you attack them then, Henry? When you guys had a 45-point game against them this year, in another one game where you scored 27 in a close loss, how do you attack those guys?
One thing, whenever you play against a great defense, you always have to be patient, and that's what Winnipeg was able to do in the first game, and they made big plays when they presented themselves. That's the same thing that Kerry Joseph and the guys need to do, is understand you can't make a big play every time you have the ball in your hands. Be patient. The big plays will come. You put BC on their heels, and that's when you go over the top.
And talking to Wally Buono yesterday, he said this game will be won or lost in the trenches. And the offensive line for Saskatchewan is extremely good. So that's going to be the matchup to watch.
Was that over a candlelit dinner between the 2 of you?
Yeah, espresso. It was an espresso.
Oh, man.
Last point to you, David.
It's all about to get into this BC Lions defense. It's play action. play action, you got to slow them down. You got to get those backers to roll up and see if you can sneak some receivers into that nice soft spot.
Last bit, we talked about Jimenez before the game. I don't want to get into all our opinions on that again, but is there any worry that he's going to be a target here for the officials, that he will be the most watched player on the field today, Greg?
Well, I know that the officials probably got together before this game and said, let's not allow this to become the focus, because that's when everything breaks down. You need to be able to call the game like you see it and don't allow that to be a distraction.
David?
Well, without a doubt, you know, I mean, we're only human, so you know all eyes will be on Jimenez. The players will be quick to point him out. Without a doubt, everyone's going to be looking at him.
All right, so that is the story as we have it set. Jimenez and his mates getting ready. That special teams coach, Mike Benavides, in the middle of them. We've set up Mark Lee and Chris Walby. Guys, we know you can only talk about the game. You're not that good at filling, so we've taken care of it for you. There you go. Kickoff is next. Mark?
Thank you, Elliot. And an interesting point made by Wally Buono yesterday. He has 7 offensive linemen in the lineup today. Said, I'm not taking any chances. Referring to the Jimenez controversy, we'll leave that up to conjecture. There's Jarius Jackson getting started for his first CFL playoff start. A 9-2 record as a starter this year, coming in after the injuries to Dave Dickinson and Buck Pierce. The Lions won the toss here today and have elected to receive. It's the West Division Final in high definition on CBC Sports. There he is, the leading kick returner in the CFL this season, Ian Smart, back to receive along with Corey Rogers. The Lions on an 8-game winning streak. The Riders coming off an inspirational win in the West semifinal over Calgary. But today they're on the road in noisy BC Place, and we're underway. And the kickoff bouncing downfield and out of bounds, and a flag on the play. The BC Lions have the option to take the ball at the 45, and that's what they'll do with terrific field position to start on offense.
Well, you can see that he was trying to put that ball in the corner.
Illegal kickoff, Saskatchewan number 30. Be first down BC in the 45.
Well, Borehem was aiming for the corner, and that's just to help the cover team get down there to allow or disallow Ian Smart to get to the outside, because we know if he finds a space, he takes it all the way.
And so Jarius Jackson, who started this season as trade bait, a trade rumor on the block, in fact, and a third stringer, has led his team to first place, 9 wins as a starter. And at the controls here at home in the West Final. Audibling on his first play. He'll hand off to the CFL's rushing leader, Joe Smith. And Smith is hit quickly by Reggie Hunt for a few.
Well, they're going to try and get it all started with the big boys up front. But let's take a look at that offense. Jarius Jackson, as you say, first playoff start. Joe Smith, what a game he has to have today to alleviate the pressure on Jackson. Lyle Green, he'll be a guy out of the backfield. Claremont and Simon, these guys are huge inside, but Paris Jackson had the big game in the last Western Final. And an offensive line, this is a very good offensive line. Big Murphy, the West Canada outstanding player again.
2nd and 8, Jackson throwing deep downfield. Claremont, the intended receiver, but he was knocked down in coverage with Frazier, Lance Frazier, the sophomore out of West Virginia, in contact there, and the fans don't like it, but there are no flags, and the Lions will have to punt.
Well, of course, the fans, anytime one of their star receivers goes down in a mix-up, you're looking for the flag. Just going to keep working, and you're going to see he's just going to come in just by the goalpost right there, just going to work as he tries to go to the outside. It looks like Frazier falls. He actually just trips over Frazier, so it's unintentional, and that's why there was no flag.
Paul McCallum to punt, a 44.3-yard average, 4th best in the CFL this year, to Corey Holmes, who has been battling a sore shoulder. Last week he couldn't shake hands with his right hand because the shoulder was so beat up after the semifinal. But he's back to play again. A big punt for McCallum, pushing Holmes back inside the 15. Holmes surrounded, gets a block upfield, and now brought down Brett Anderson. And Jason Pottinger in on the tackles for BC. A 13-yard return, but a flag is down on the play.
They're going to call a legal block, and it looked like they did a nice job. But you talked about Holmes last week, obviously, as you said, with that stinger. Wasn't sure if he's going to make it. Didn't practice all this week, but you know he's a gamer. You're not going to pull him out of this game.
Illegal block. Saskatchewan 49. 10-yard penalty at the run back.
Yannick Carter with the infraction.
So they'll take it back all the way to the 12-yard line. So the Riders with horrible field position and the noise to start on offense for the first time here this afternoon. Kerry Joseph coming off a huge semifinal in which he personally generated 500 yards of offense against the Calgary Stampeders. 391 through the air, and it is loud. They've got the silent count all set, but he'll start up behind his center, Jeremy O'Day, on the ground, and the first give up the gut to Wes Cates. And Wes Cates, who is in the lineup today despite playing with a stress fracture in his left foot.
Well, that's absolutely right, but Kerry Joseph is the guy that will lead him to the promised land. Also, Chris Zarka back after missing 4 games. DJ Flick went out, didn't practice week, had a little bit of tweak in that leg, and they're not sure. They won't tell if it's a knee or a hamstring. He's back. Vantuz has to have a big game, and an offensive line. Boy, Jim Mikulski knows what this is all about. He wants to lead this team on, get some yards rushing.
Cates in the backfield. 2nd and 7. Joseph throwing downfield. It's complete to Mike Palmer in the seam. Palmer in behind Marquise Knowlton to the 40, a 25-yard pickup.
Well, remember earlier in the year, Mark, Michael Palmer was the go-to guy for 2 games in a row. He was the leading receiver for Kerry Joseph. Disappeared a little bit last week, but here he comes. This is where you got to make your plays, make your face known, your numbers. And a nice job of 77 running this seam route, and Joseph delivering a beautiful ball to him.
First down, Saskatchewan. Riders in their silent count. They've worked on it all week using 8 loudspeakers back in Regina at practice. Joseph throwing up, and Vantuz has it and goes down for that low pass with a 4-yard gain.
As we say, almost intercept. Let's take a look at that Lion defense, and boy, 41 sacks by the front 4 alone. These guys can flat out get after the quarterback. Wake with 16 himself. Linebacker crew, Javi Glatt with almost a pick right there. Otis Floyd led the team in tackle 69. Goodwell getting his first start. In the defensive backfield, hey, anytime you got Barron Miles as safety, good things can happen.
Yes, the script in this game may well be written in the trenches. 2nd and 5. 5-man rush. Joseph with time now flushed. He'll run upfield and slide for a first down. Kerry Joseph, who led the CFL among quarterbacks in rushing this year, with 731 yards and 109 last week in the semifinal.
Well, it's an ability to make decisions and not force situations. Don't create any turnover opportunities. Just a nice job of pulling the ball down and taking off and picking up positive yardage.
He's a big man, Kerry Joseph, at 6'2", 210. Those are the numbers from last week, a total of 500 yards through the air and on the ground. And that's one thing the Lions don't want to let him get away with. Let him get away from contained. On first down, pumping, he wants to go deep, and DJ Flick is open but overthrown.
Mark, Otis Floyd in coverage, bit on the pump fake. He took a look into the backfield and watched the quarterback, and all he could do was watch DJ Flick keep running back and pray the ball was overthrown. He got lucky on that one because it definitely was, and DJ was open. Take a look at this. He's going to stop, stutter, and then a little bit of a wheel route right up the field. Otis Floyd getting caught peeking in the backfield a little bit.
It was on the first play of the semifinal last week when DJ Flick got open for 62 yards and a touchdown to start the game and kickstart the Riders against Calgary. Tough though now, 2nd and 10. Joseph, 3-man rush, they drop 9, BC does. Joseph in trouble, and down he goes. Cam Wake, the sack leader in the CFL, has his first playoff sack.
Well, the Saskatchewan offensive line, as you see Ken Austin, pretty happy with the way they moved that ball the first offensive series. But he's just down at the bottom right here, just going to keep working against Jermise Jones. Armbar, get underneath, but keep working, son. Keep working. He goes around the corner, brings down for his first sack.
Wake with 16 sacks to lead the CFL this year puts Jamie Borum on the field to punt for the first time here this afternoon. Borum with a 42-yard average this year. An end-over-end punt. Ian Smart drops it on the fly. The ball's loose. The cover team's there. And it's Saskatchewan football. Kidwana Jones recovers the Ian Smart fumble and huge turnover early. Kiwana Jones with the fumble recovery and a souvenir. He's hanging on to the football. Ian Smart, who led the CFL in returns this year, had one dubious statistic, 6 fumbles, 3 lost. There's his 7th, Chris.
Well, and there's nothing more than just taking his eye off the ball. He just tries to get it right through the hands. Takes a real favorable Roughrider bounce. Kiwana Jones, Johnny in the spot with the first big turnover.
First down, Saskatchewan at the BC 31-yard line. Joseph in the shotgun. Wide open in the flats and dropped is Michael Palmer coming back to the ball. It was a little low, but catchable.
Well, a catchable ball, but I think Michael Palmer was hoping that ball would be a little higher, and as he could catch it, he could keep running. But the fact is he had to come back to the football, kind of stumble a little bit. As a result, couldn't come up with a catch. But good protection again. Nice job. Palmer's got to come up with those catches, especially this type of game.
Palmer was cut by the Toronto Argonauts at midseason. Argos eliminated today by Winnipeg in the East Final. Palmer hoping to get back to Toronto via the West. 2nd and 10, Saskatchewan. Rolling left to the wide side. Joseph has time, throwing across the middle, and a wide open Corey Grant. Corey Grant settling underneath the secondary of BC for a first down.
You know, Mark, they've talked all week about Fat-Twos and flicks, the 2 super slots for the Roughriders. But I tell you, a guy that's got to have a big game is that man right there. Corey Grant had a season high in the first game, 6 catches. Look at that. That's a great way. Let your quarterback know. You're just sitting in that hole in the zone right there. Nice ball, but it all starts with the protection.
One of the most experienced playoff performers in the lineup, Corey Grant, with 14 games of experience in the lineup here today for Saskatchewan. He has an 18-yard gain for a first down, and the Riders are into the red zone of the BC Lions. Trying to take advantage of the Ian Smart turnover. 4 receivers to the short side. Joseph rolling wide. Throwing. It's caught by Fat-Twos. Touchdown! Andy Fat-Twos! The CFL sophomore beats the CFL leader in interceptions, Ryan Phillips. And the Riders are on the board first. A 13-yard touchdown pass, and the first points of this game scored off turnovers.
Well, they're doing an excellent job of what I call max protection. That's keep the back in for an extra blocker. Wes Cates comes backside, picks up anything that's going to come from the blind side of Joseph. That allows Joseph comfortably to roll to the left and find Fat-Twos. Nice job. Boy, I tell you what, Mark, this offense with all the noise is executing at pretty near perfection.
Yes, the Riders, ignoring the noise, cut a swath through the BC defense to score first. They're cheering in Chatham, Ontario tonight as Andy Fat-Twos has the game's first touchdown.
Well, the block right there, that is Wes Cates. Now, guys, as we want to watch him come to the backside and pick up the blitz, he's working against Brent Johnson. That allows the extra time to carry Joseph, and that allows one receiver to come this way. Fat-Twos to just to curl out to the flat. As you say, beating their leading interceptor, Ryan Phillips, easy touchdown.
Ian Smart holds on this time, returning the kickoff from his 10 and hammered. Maurice Lloyd and Neil Hughes, the Regina native, tag team Ian Smart to hold that return to 19 yards, and Fat-Twos will hold on to that CFL souvenir after his big touchdown catch. Jarius Jackson going back to work. They were 2-out in their opening drive of this football game. But Chris, he has really matured over the course of the 11 starts he got, filling the breach left by the injuries to Dave Dickinson and Buck Pierce. Dickinson listed number 2 on the depth chart. He's on the sidelines, healthy and ready to go should there be a need. Here comes the blitz against Jackson. Jackson firing. It's intercepted. Maurice Lloyd steps up and picks off the football.
Mark, we talked about opportunities. And after the football game, they'll say there are 5 or 6 plays to dictate the winner of this football game. We've seen 2 already. A fumble by Smart. The very next series, Jarius Jackson trying to focus on G. Roy Simon, number 81. throws it right into the hands of middle linebacker Maurice Lloyd. Now he is. There's Maurice Lloyd just dropping into his cover. He's right where he has to be. That's a great job by the middle linebacker. Jarius simply does not see him.
Trying to find G-Roy Simon, the CFL's leading receiver, but did not see Maurice Lloyd. Back-to-back turnovers for Saskatchewan. Here early in the West Final. Joseph back on the field with his offense. First down at the 38. Five-man rush from BC. Joseph firing a crossing route to Fantuz. He holds on as Corey Banks makes the tackle. He continues to celebrate on the people at the Saskatchewan bench.
Well, it's going to be very interesting. I'm going to watch the adjustments the defensive coordinator Dave Ritchie makes, because right now he's trying to live on the four-man rush. We talked about how good they are, but this offensive line is matching it. And what happens now is that's allowing the receivers like Fantuz to find openings, to get separation from their cover guys, in that instance, Corey Banks.
There's Dave Ritchie. Some talk he may retire after this year. The leader of that defense. 2nd and 2 for Saskatchewan. And it's a handoff to Wes Cates, and Cates, driving the pile, will have a first down. And what a story he is, making the trip and coming here despite the hairline fracture in his left foot. And Ken Austin told us yesterday, he said, Coach, I wouldn't put this team in jeopardy if I didn't think I could perform.
Well, I love that fact that he said, I put team first before individual goals. As much as I want to be out there, I will do what you think. Now, the orthopedic surgeons say there's no chance of further injury to that stress fracture. They probably gave him a shot to freeze the pain, and he's in the lineup.
And he's put 1,300 yards of offense up this year for Saskatchewan. 1st and 10, Riders. A deep drop for Kerry Joseph. And another open receiver, Andy Fantuz, underneath. And quickly brought to the turf by Javi Glatt and Markeith Knowlton. But Andy Fantuz having a terrific playoff series so far. Last week at home at Taylor Field. 6 catches, 127 yards. And he was a road grader against that Calgary defense, refusing to be denied. The sophomore from Chatham, the breakout player in the CFL this year.
Well, bringing out comparisons to the legendary Ray Elgard on those plays.
Yes, he did draw comparisons. 2nd and 9, BC blitzing, and flags down, and the whistle has been blown to stop the play. Kerry Joseph 6 for 8 through the air for 72 yards and 1 touchdown. Pass to Andy Fantuz, and there's the first indication of noise adversely affecting this offense.
But they have come out of the gate strong against this noise, Mark. Last year in the West Final, they really struggled. They couldn't get anything. They were held to like 4 first downs in the first half. I like the way they're moving the ball right now, and that's a credit to guys like Ken Austin and Paul LaPolice.
Last year they had 4 time count violations and 5 procedures in that West Final loss to BC. 2nd and 14. Joseph under pressure again. Throws it up and incomplete. And that was dangerous. Corey Grant, the intended receiver, but 3 BC defenders in the neighborhood. But no sack, and the Riders in field goal position.
Well, you knew it was only a matter of time before they were going to bring the blitz. Mark Washington is going to come on the blitz. They have to bring some additional pressure right away. There's Otis Floyd on the bottom. There's Washington who finally brings them down. If you're going to just try and live off 4, if you can't get them, that's where you make your adjustments. Good adjustment by the BC defense.
They are a powerhouse, and they bring the pressure. As you mentioned, 41 sacks alone on that front 4, 61 overall to lead the CFL. Luka Kanji to attempt this field goal from the 37. He hit 6 last week. Kanji, head down, ball up. Good. So the Roughriders with 10 points on the board, capitalizing on turnovers. Rider fans here in BC in abundance, and they're animated. Their team up 10-0, all points scored off of BC turnovers. Borum kicking the ball deep to the 10-yard line. Ian Smart now with a head of speed, looking for a crease, and dragged down just shy of the 40-yard line. Tuesday at 8, former Prime Minister Jean Chrétien teaches Rick a thing or two about reading a good book. While over at Little Mosque on the Prairie, paranoia runs rampant in Mercy. An all-new episode at a special day and time, Tuesday at 8:30 on CBC. Time of possession has been one-sided early in this football game. Nearly 10 minutes for Saskatchewan, and look at this, a minute 54 for BC. Their first series, 2 and out. Their second series, an interception thrown to Maurice Lloyd. Jarius Jackson will hand off to Big Joe Smith, cutting back against the grain. Open field, hard to bring down, and finally fell inside Saskatchewan territory.
Well, one of the ways you defeat a blitzing team is you run the football. And if you put a lot of guys on the line of scrimmage, all you need is a crease. It's a nice job of Joe Smith. Watch the cutback. It's initially to the left. He breaks it to the right. Gets great blocks downfield from the receivers and turns it into a huge gain.
Joe Smith led the CFL in rushing this year with 1,510 yards, his first 1,000-yard season, and this his second year in the CFL. He broke the BC team record. He put 18 touchdowns in the end zone on the ground, another BC record. Play action, Jackson rolling, throwing a post pattern, or rather a corner, and it's caught. Jason Claremont holding on in traffic. First down, BC.
Well, Jason Clutch Claremont. They got to start nicknaming him Clutch. What a great grab. Great coverage by the defenders on Saskatchewan. Play action, roll out, buy yourself some extra time. Watch this catch. There's the coverage. Ball is trying to be knocked out by Sean Lucas. He gets his hand on the ball, but the strength of Jason Claremont displayed there.
Claremont, the West Division nominee for most outstanding Canadian, a career year in catches with 86, a 22-yard pickup there, and playing with a sore shoulder here today. The handoff to Joe Smith. Hard, putting his head down across the 20-yard line for a gain of 5.
Well, this is a defense that really came out of the gates strong, and they're going to have to continue to play that way. Schultz and Adams, big job inside stopping Joe Smith. Chicken Perry, the sack leaders on the outside of the defensive line. Linebacking crew, Maurice Lloyd, he's hurt. He's not 100%, but he's gutsy. He's in there. Watching Reggie Hunt have a big game on the outside. And the defensive backfield, Eddie Davis, the 13-year veteran, he has really got a lead with his communication back there.
Now the Lions threatening. Jarius Jackson passing, wide open. Geroy Simon turning the corner, reaching. He says he's in. There's no signal yet, and they'll spot it at the 1. The league's leading receiver, Geroy Simon, takes it to the goal line with an 18-yard catch.
And the thing you have to remember is this is an offense that has scored the most points in the CFL this year. And you can't keep them down all game. Nice job of just throwing it quickly, getting it out to your playmakers, and let the speed of Geroy Simon. He tries to reach out, hits the pylon. A lot of times when you hit the pylon mark, they'll give you the touchdown. This time they mark him at the 1. We'll take a look.
He got the pylon, was his foot out of bounds. Lance Frazier, the man trying to make the tackle here, is injured.
Oh, that's very close. He looked like he went over the top of the pylon.
Geroy Simon claiming the receiving title for the second year in a row on the last game of the season, Chris, when he had 211 yards in receiving against the Calgary Stampeders. And the delay continues as the injured rider, Frazier, gets some attention.
Well, I'll tell you something about Geroy Simon. He was a forgotten man earlier this year. He was only averaging like 43 yards a game, Mark. The last 8 games, which is coincidentally their winning streak, he's averaging over 107 yards a game. So he is picked up his game, and coincidentally, so has the BC offense and their win column.
Well, this BC offense has come back on the field with a vengeance after 2 poor series, and now limping off the field, trying to jog it off, is Lance Frazier. The BC drive starting at its own 39-yard line, and Geroy Simon has finished the second half of this year with an average of 107 yards per game. An amazing average, Chris, as you mentioned, and he started the season poorly, was frustrated, and then when he got through that back injury, he hit full stride. The BC Lions, first and goal from the 1 with a double tight end formation. Jackson turning, handing off. Joe Smith barrels into the end zone. are on the board. And Big Joe Smith takes them there.
Well, Joe Smith finishes it off, but got a lot of help from Jason Claremont and G. Simon, who put him in the scoring position. That's what you call about having team offense. Everybody contributes to the success.
Last year in his debut in the West Final, Joe Smith had 2 touchdowns to lead this Lions team for that 45-18 victory over Saskatchewan. And he's got his first here this afternoon. Paul McCallum with the point after. It's up and good. And the Lions answer back. Joe Smith. Hey, Dirt.
I know there's a lot of fans who are pretty quiet over here thinking, what's going on? Saskatchewan comes to our hostile environment and puts up 10 points. Let's find out what's really happening. And the BC Lions answered.
Well, we have a moment, Chris. Next weekend, the Grey Cup is front and center on CBC Sports, and the 10th annual Wallabies Warriors kicks off at 2:30 Eastern, along with a Grey Cup preview highlight Saturday. Well, Grey Cup Sunday begins at 3:30 Eastern, followed by the pregame and the 95th Grey Cup Championship from the Rogers Centre in Toronto.
Well, just a dive is straight up, right up the middle. And you can see that right now Joe Smith is a very determined ball carrier. He's running hard, 100 miles an hour, straight north-south.
Very similar start to that September 22nd game for first place back in Regina when the offense sputtered. Jackson was 1 for 7 through the air and an interception, and they gave the ball to Joe Smith on 6 consecutive plays, and he rammed it into the end zone, and he's done the job here in that
Well,
series.
there was a difference, and the difference is that in that game, Jarius Jackson didn't come to life till the second half. This time he's done it in the first quarter.
Corey Holmes receiving the kick at his own 20, loses his footing, and he's smeared. Tim Goodwell downfield, first on a 10. Dennis. Jarius Jackson, the architect of a 5-play drive that traveled 71 yards. It began with the rumbling Joe Smith battering his way upfield. A completion and a great catch by Jason Claremont, and then back to the ground game, and Joe Smith stuffing it into the end zone. 10-7 Saskatchewan, and the Lions prolific, scoring on 90% of their chances with touchdowns in the red zone this season. The handoff to Wes Cates. Cates caught from behind by Cam Wake and gang tackled by the BC defense on the carry. And he'll have a gain of 3 yards.
Mark, I want to see as this game develops how Wes Cates adapts, because they had to probably freeze that left ankle. Now, they say it won't affect them, but I also wonder when you freeze the ankle and you have a style that really relies on cutback, on making people miss. And right now, I don't think he has it. You can see him, his left ankle taped up. Well, they're both spatted right there, but you know the left one's the one that's giving him the problems.
Well, it's a courageous effort, nonetheless, by Wes Cates to come to the aid of his football team here in the West Final. BC blitzing. Joseph under pressure, dodges the first wave, and diving upfield. He'll be shy of the first down as Aaron Hunt makes the tackle. For the BC Lions, the gun sounds. That's the final play of the first quarter as Saskatchewan stakes a 3-point lead.
Back at BC Place Stadium in Vancouver, where the Roughriders lead the Lions 10-7 as we begin the second half. Now we've been taking a measure of what the noise has been in here. We've got our decibel meter out. It's been spiking at around 107 when Saskatchewan has the football. To put that into perspective, a pneumatic hammer is 110. A jet engine registers 115. Mark and Chris?
Enough to give you a headache, Karen. And, you know, teams in the past, Chris, have accused the Lions of enhancing the crowd noise with some speakers. Never been proven. Borum punting, the first 2 and out for Saskatchewan, and a beautiful punt over the shoulder catch by Ian Smart to the 20, and Smart is tied up quickly. Good punt cover by Saskatchewan, a 53-yard hoof by Jamie Borum, And just a 4-yard return as we look at the first quarter statistics.
Well, obviously the score is going to flatter the BC Lions. In fact, they had 2 turnovers that led to Saskatchewan's 10 points. But that BC offense, who had originally only had two and outs, took the ball, marched it down, and kept it off with a touchdown by Joe Smith. So I tell you what, they're back now.
Jarius Jackson back to work after leading that 5-play scoring drive for BC. Lance Frazier back in the lineup after leaving injured on the play to Simon. Jarius Jackson looking, firing, incomplete in traffic. And Geroy Simon was the intended receiver, but there is a flag on the field at the line of scrimmage. And it looked like one of the receivers for BC was waggling a little early.
And I think you hit it 100%, Mark. That's exactly what it was. They were trying to time it, and they're trying to do the running start to give an advantage to them against the cover halfbacks. But I think, as you say, one of them just left a little early before the snap.
Simon.
Offside. BC number 81. That penalty's declined. 2nd down.
Simon saying to us before the game, Chris, they're going to have to double cover me today to stop me, and that's exactly what they're doing.
You can just see him right there. He just basically takes off, and that's one way you'll get ahead of the defense if you leave a little early.
So it's 2nd and 10, and Lyle Green has come into the backfield for BC to help with the blocking. The Riders showing blitz, and they bring it. Here comes Lloyd, and Chick's got him. What a hit! Ball's loose. Riders pick it up, but the whistle has gone. Hard to hear in this deafening stadium, but John Chick, the rookie, with a vicious hit and sack on Jarius Jackson.
John Chick, who plays with an insulin pump on his belt. Watch him come through. He just beats Jimenez, the left tackle, and just literally crunches Jarius Jackson. And very fortunate that we went down and the ball came loose after. Otherwise, that's a touchdown going the other way.
John Chick had 5 sacks this year, and he put a licking on that man, Jarius Jackson. A loss of 11 yards on the play. In the last game of the season, the Lions gave up 7 sacks against Calgary and looked vulnerable to the blitz. McCallum gets it away. A wobbling spiral to the 52. Corey Holmes straight up the numbers, busts some tackles, and hard to bring down. It's Lyle Green on the tackle. A 9-yard return, but good field position for Saskatchewan when we come back. Welcome back to BC Place, where the Lions trail by 3. Their defense, a menacing line, anchored by this man, Tyrone Williams, who is wired for sound this afternoon. Mic'd Up, brought to you by Rogers, Canada's most reliable wireless network.
Hey, we're moving from Eagle to Choice. Hey, be careful. I'm gonna push you by and try to run right off you.
Tyrone Williams, he packs a load, and we'll be checking in on him from time to time. Joseph firing, low pass, incomplete. Tried to go to DJ Flick, and it was broken up by Dante Marsh. And Otis Floyd was also in the vicinity.
Well, they are really happy to get Dante Marsh back in the lineup. They felt with him on that short side corner that he is an impact player. Watch the break on the ball. That's absolutely beautiful timing on that play to not contact the receiver before he gets there.
DJ Flick left practice on Friday with a tweak in his leg. That's all the Riders would say, and there was all kinds of concern. He might not be able to play, but he's here too. Another yeoman's effort for the Riders. 2nd and 10. BC, 3-man rush. Joseph loses the football and recovers it in the nick of time, but a loss on the play, and they'll have to turn it over. Cam Wake again raising havoc in the backfield.
Well, you know, they talk about defense winning championships. Here's another example of it again. There's Cameron Wake. Now watch, he's on the other side. He's going to be working against James Jones. Keeps working. That's a great spin move. You can't get there. You got to turn around. Watch the spin. Tries to go to the outside, spins back in toward the quarterback, swats the ball out of the hand, and Kerry Joseph fortunate to get back on it.
Cam Wake, the nominee in the West for both Rookie of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year. And he has run roughshod over offensive lines all year.
Oh, he's got a sack and a forced fumble already.
Borum with a beautiful spiral, pinning Smart at his 10. Smart gets a good block, gets a crease. Here he goes. Ian Smart into open field and caught from behind by Sean Lucas. A 46-yard punt, a 46-yard return.
Mark, field position. You always want to make sure the opposition, the offense is always starting from the shadows of their own goalpost. They get a wonderful punt, but watch the break. Great block downfield, and then a little shake and bake on the punter, Borham. And once again, Ian Smart gives that offense great starting field position.
Ian Smart leading the CFL in combined yards this year, 2,440. And the best average on kick and punt returns in the CFL, atoning for a fumble earlier in the first quarter. Joe Smith cut down by Fred Perry as he crashes for a gain of about 3 on the play. Attacking this defense, guided by its coordinator, Richie Hall, who gave all of the Rider players these photographs of the Grey Cup this year, or this past week, Chris, and they had them stuck on their locker. He said, I wanted to get them focused to think about the prize that we're all after.
I remember in '89, the last time they went to the Cup, they put tape on their ring figure to signify the Grey Cup ring. So great motivational tool. Does it work? We'll find out at the end of the game.
Otis Floyd said, hey, we got the real deal. We still hold it until somebody takes it from us. Jackson firing. It's caught by Corey Rogers. And Rogers dancing his way to the 40-yard line, and a first down as Jarius Jackson has settled into a groove.
He's settled in a groove, and he's getting the ball to his playmakers. You talked about Claremont and Simon. This guy is very dangerous. He has got exceptional speed. Look at him. He can make people miss. Eddie Davis thinks he's got him wrapped up. One little move, and he picks up additional yards.
Corey Rogers, who used to play at Texas Christian University, he left in his junior year ranked number 2 in all-purpose yards behind LaDainian Tomlinson, the star in San Diego of the NFL. A handoff to Joe Smith. He stumbles, stays on his feet though, and wrestled to the turf by Maurice Lloyd. Fred Perry with some help on that first down carry. Down to the sidelines, and here's Carroll.
Thank you, Mark. Well, an update from the East, where it looks like the Winnipeg Blue Bombers will be heading to the Grey Cup without their starting quarterback. Kevin Glenn has a broken left arm. He has a cast that ranges from his shoulder to his wrist. Unlikely, of course, to be able to play next week.
Terribly unfortunate turn of events for the Bombers and Kevin Glenn. And we have an injury here. It's Shirko Haji-Razuli, the right guard for the Lions, in some difficulty, and it looks like they're addressing his left shoulder. We'll take a timeout here at BC Place. Shirko Haji-Razuli in a lot of difficulty, being taken to the BC bench. It looks like his left leg is the problem, and he's in a lot of pain. Replacing him at right guard is Dean Valley, who had one start this year. It happened to be the one game that Haji-Razuli was suspended for after that brawl at Taylor Field back on September 22nd. Saskatchewan blitzing. Jackson gets the ball away for Geroy Simon. Incomplete, in the air, and separated by Arabin Justin. Flags are down.
Yeah, usually Geroy Simon, who likes to call himself Superman, a little shaken up right there. Going high to try and secure that catch. Couldn't hang on to it.
Offside. BC number 81.
That doesn't matter anyway.
Third down.
Second time Geroy's been offside, trying to get a jump start on that Saskatchewan secondary.
Well, let's go back and find Haji-Razuli as the right guard, guys, and just watch this a little bit and freeze it right there, guys. There he is right there. That's Haji-Razuli right there. And he gets rolled on. His teammate, Rob Murphy, pushes the defender right over him.
So Haji-Razuli, the first casualty for the Lions in this war of attrition for the West Division title. And the first field goal attempt for Paul McCallum will come from the 45, the right hash marks. McCallum has the ball up and good. 45 yards, good in the uprights, and we're all tied at 10 in Vancouver. In last year's West Final, the Roughriders appeared unprepared for the noise here at BC Place and in a state of chaos. But Kerry Joseph tells us they're better prepared this time.
We know it's going to be loud here, but you know what? We feel, though, if we come out and get the momentum on our side, make plays early, we can quieten the crowd. And if it is loud, we still have some things that we worked on all week long to be prepared for it.
And they did come out and start with a 10-0 lead. But there's a procedure call indicated here.
Procedure, Saskatchewan, number 53.
So,
5-yard penalty, repeat first down.
Talking about the noise, even though they came here well prepared with a plan, they had trouble there getting the ball off, Chris.
Well, they did a nice job in the first quarter negating the noise by putting up 10 points, but that was the result of turnovers from their defense and special teams. Now they've really got to make sure that whatever they've worked on all week actually works.
It is the silent count. The quarterback lifting his leg to start the snap procedure, and another flag. The second in a row.
Procedure, Saskatchewan, number 53. 5-yard penalty.
Procedure again against Jermise Jones.
Well, that's the third one on Jermise, I believe, already this afternoon. Now they're going with the silent count. What happens is, as he moves his foot and waggles his arms forward, that means the receivers start to hit the line. Then the offensive line is supposed to do a 1 count and go. He's obviously missing that count.
They had 5 procedures last year in this game. 3 today. Joseph gets it away under pressure, throwing downfield for Flick. What a catch! They're going to spot it at the 48. The Lions defenders beg to differ, but DJ Flick, playing injured, holds on.
Well, this will be interesting because I know that Banks and Marsh thought he trapped the ball. As he gets behind him, let's watch the end of this play. They were saying that this ball hit the ground. I'm wondering if a challenge is not going to be thrown. As you see, it almost looks like it bounces, but did it go off his arm or off the turf? Saskatchewan obviously thinks it's a catch, but there's the challenge flag thrown.
I think it hit the turf there, and Wally Buono has thrown the challenge flag at the BC bench.
Well, I think this is a good call, especially a big play by the Saskatchewan offense. It did appear to us that it may have hit the turf. Great job of trying to sell it by DJ Flick.
Wally Buono was watching the Jumbotron here at BC Place before he threw the flag, having the advantage of seeing the replay.
Well, that's the thing, right? I know that after the
BC
challenge,
is challenging
they're not
the ruling
allowed,
on the
they're not
field.
supposed to show the replay on the screen.
Review the play.
So Glenn Johnson will go under the hood to have a look, but from what we've seen already, Chris, it does look like the point of the ball hit the turf.
Well, watch as he goes. Oh, he's got him beat. He comes more to the sideline and tries to cradle. He gets it within his fingers. There it goes. It goes off the turf, and then he comes over. Now, when he rolls over, he does a great job of selling it. But from that vantage point, it definitely looks like it did hit the turf. Should be ruled a no catch. Another look at it right here. Now watch that ball right there. It definitely hits the turf.
So the video replay appears to support the Lions defenders who were calling it incomplete right from the start. And Glenn Johnson has 1:30 to make a decision on this, but it looks like an open and shut case.
Well, you know what? This is why it is a positive to have instant replay. On plays like this where a team may be held back, forced to punt instead, you challenge a call on a big play by their offense. You take any momentum and basically take it away from them if you're successful in the challenge. But at least it gives you the opportunity to challenge the play.
Referee Glenn Johnson taking his time with this decision. He sees all of the angles you have seen at home. And up in the officials booth here, he has support from one of the replay officials who is linked with him via headset, so they can discuss it.
And there's DJ, and there indeed is the official, Glenn Johnson. Coach Buono on the left and Austin on the right, waiting for the call.
There's Jim Daly, the director of football operations, who is in conversation on headset with Glenn Johnson. But they are dotting all the I's and crossing the T's, and now Johnson will come out onto the field to make his decision. DJ Flick had a 37-yard catch, he thought, and he too awaits the outcome of this review.
Upon review, the nose of the football hit the ground prior to the player getting possession.
No catch.
Rolling on the field is an incomplete pass. Incomplete pass.
Right there. So a 37-yard play is taken off the score sheets.
And that's exactly why you have the replay, to prevent plays that shouldn't count from counting, forcing Saskatchewan back 37 yards to start over.
So it'll be 2nd and 20 at the Saskatchewan 25 as the crowd turns up the volume. 4-man rush. Joseph under pressure, gets away, pumping at the line of scrimmage, fires, and it's incomplete. He went back to Flick. A flag down, and it looks like a late hit on Kerry Joseph.
I believe they're going to tag Otis Floyd with the late hit. This is what happens when you have a quarterback like Kerry Joseph, who can get outside and use his legs and buy himself some extra time. Otis Floyd is chasing him, doesn't want him to get to the outside, thinks he's going to run with the ball. Now there's two questions. One, did he go over the line of scrimmage before he threw this ball? And if he did, then he's fair game to be hit. If he's behind the line of scrimmage and Otis Floyd hits him, well, then it's a late hit. So it's all going to come down to whether he crossed the line of scrimmage.
We have an illegal forward pass.
There you go.
Saskatchewan number 4 is over the line of scrimmage when he threw the football. I've got a major foul, roughing the passer, BC number 35. It's net 5 yards for Saskatchewan, 1st and 10.
So the roughing the passer still counts because it was a headshot, I believe, Chris, from Floyd. But last week in that touchdown pass to DJ Flick in the West semifinal, Kerry Joseph was perilously close to going over the line of scrimmage and got it away. This time he was over.
Well, and like we said, aside from the hitting with the helmet, that's why they tacked on the, take a look at it right now as he just does a little scuttlebutt, gets to the outside, sets up, tries to throw. That's questionable, but he led with it underneath the chin.
Led with the helmet.
And that's what they're going to call. Good call by the official.
Floyd, who warned Kerry Joseph he'd be lurking in the backfield today, got his first lick on him. Here's Joseph on 1st down, throwing wide side and nearly intercepted. LeVar Glover coming back to the ball that was intended for Andy Fantus and well short.
Well short, and I'm really surprised because we all know about the strength of Kerry Joseph's arm, and he's got a guy open. He's going to sit back there, case to the backside, working on Johnson, and he just throws his ball, and it just gets away from him, and it's almost as if Joseph saw the defender and somehow pulled something off that throw and allowed it to hit the dirt, because otherwise I think that would have been picked off by the BC defender.
Sherko Haji-Razuli with assistance and leaving the playing area. 7 defensive backs in on 2nd down and 10. Joseph hasn't made a completion in his last 4 throws. He's got time, rolling wide side, still looking for a receiver, getting some help, now throws back and incomplete. Looking for DJ Flick, and again, it's short.
Well, 2 plays that you see the wonderful athletic ability demonstrated by Kerry Joseph to buy extra time, but 2 plays where he underthrows the receiver. The last time I think was intentional. This time he just didn't get enough strength on the ball to get, because he had a guy wide open in the middle. He just couldn't get him the ball.
He must have had 8 steamboats scrambling in the backfield there. But Jamie Borum will have to punt it away. And Borum, an end-over-end punt to Smart at the 42. He stops in his tracks, bellies back, gives up 5 yards, and is caught by Sean Lucas and Maurice Lloyd for a loss of 2 on the return. Just a reminder, President's Choice Raptors basketball has Chicago at Toronto next Sunday at 12 Eastern, 9 o'clock a.m. Pacific time on CBC Sports. So this vigorous BC defense has forced the Riders to turn it over and give Jarius Jackson excellent field position at his own 40-yard line. The number 3 quarterback, the third stringer to start the season. The starter to finish it here in the West Final. Play action. Looking deep downfield with the bomb for Josh Bowden. Over his shoulder and incomplete. And Arabin Justin, the cornerback, was step for step in coverage.
Well, Josh Bowden, they really like this first-year player. He's a junior player out of Surrey, the Ram program. They brought him in as a developmental player. He has got excellent speed. I just believe he loses it. Just before he goes to that side, he looks over the other shoulder. And usually when a receiver looks over the other shoulder and comes back, it's because he can't find the ball.
Yes, Josh Bowden played football with Wally Buono's son Michael back in his midget football days, and that's where Wally first heard of him. He's a kid who's been in and out of trouble away from the game and has been taken under the wing of the BC Lions. Here comes the blitz. Jarius Jackson away, tipped and picked off. It's Eddie Davis taking the ball back. He's got some blocks and goes upfield. Down the sideline, Reggie Hunt blocking. Davis finally brought down by G. Roy Simon. And the second interception of the game for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and the third turnover committed by the BC Lions.
Well, Ken Austin just saying that's fantastic. You know, that's what you want out of your defense. They're bringing the blitz. He tries to get Claremont. Claremont gets his hands out. I talked earlier about clutch. This time he has his hands out. He can't bring it down, and it becomes the old volleyball tip drill right into Eddie Davis's hands, and then it's off to the races. Trying to pick up some blocks. Good block on Bowden right there. Gets to the outside. They block Simon. There's Jarius Jackson trying to bring him down. A little tug by Fred Perry, not called, but wonderful field position for the Saskatchewan offense.
Eddie Davis with a 40-yard interception return. First down, Saskatchewan at the 16 of BC. Joseph dancing in the pocket, and it's low again. He had Corey Holmes open in the flats, and that's his third consecutive short arm throw. But Eddie Davis missed 9 games with a dislocated right shoulder, and this 13-year veteran has come back big in the playoffs. He had an interception in the end zone last week in the West semifinal against Calgary, and a big one here.
And remember, the first 2 turnovers led to 10 points for Saskatchewan, and a touchdown and a field goal. You'll want to make sure you can capitalize on these turnovers.
Brett Johnson trying to fan the flames and the fans here today. But Eddie Davis has instilled some confidence in that secondary, and let's see what they can do here. Throwing high for Andy Fantus and incomplete. Marquise Knowlton right there in coverage, and Joseph picks himself off the turf. Field goal situation.
Well, they're going to bring a field goal situation, but I was watching the play develop. It was interesting to watch Corey Grant on the outside. As he goes outside, he goes down and pretends he's got a hamstring injury. He's to the right of your screen. He actually tries to go down on a knee, and as soon as the ball is snapped, he takes off to the end zone. A little bit of trickery maybe going on by Corey Grant to try and fool the cover man.
Joseph took a shot as he released the ball, and he's down on one knee at his bench. Luka Kanji, 6 for 8 last week in the semifinal from the 23. Kanji has it up and good. So Saskatchewan with 13 points on turnovers. Kerry Joseph taking a breather on the bench. The quarterback who has carried this Saskatchewan football team on his back all year. Took a bit of a hit there, a big hit after he released the ball, Chris, on the last play.
We talked about it in the opening. The fact is, it is on number 4 shoulders, because this Saskatchewan team will only go as far as number 4 takes. He is playing superb football right now, and I want to, not rely too much or put too much weight on those last 3 throws he's thrown in the dirt, because they're very uncharacteristic, and maybe he took a couple shots that we don't know about.
Yes, he's hit a bit of a dry spell here. 0 for 7 in his last 7 attempts. There's Ian Smart, who struck fear into the Saskatchewan special teams earlier in this half with a 46-yard return of a punt and a short kick now to the 25. Ian Smart is tripped up and has just an 11-yard return. Well, this is the first playoff start, as we mentioned, for Jarius Jackson, and he comes into this game with high expectations and good vibrations.
Dreams have been going all week. You know, I've been envisioning myself making plays. I can see myself throwing the ball, completing it, and, you know, just making plays all day. So most of the time when I dream like that, and good things happen.
And he told me yesterday that 33-yard touchdown with 34 seconds to go in the game in Saskatchewan on September 22nd. The touchdown to Geroy Simon galvanized his confidence as the starter. He'll start this series on the ground, and that carry goes nowhere as Ian Smart gets some playing time in the backfield as tailback. But Chris, he talked about that touchdown pass. That was the first time that BC actually had the lead in the game. It came with 34 seconds to go, and that was the one play that really determined first place as these two teams hit a crossroads. That was for first place in the West that night in Saskatchewan, and it was a brilliant night for Jarius Jackson, who struggled in the first half but came back in the second half. 2nd and 8. Jackson back to pass. A crossing route is tipped and nearly picked off again. Arabin Justin was lurking in the weeds on the ball tipped by Sean Lucas.
The past couple of ball games, we've watched this secondary of Saskatchewan play what I considered a little soft, allowing receivers to find openings. Last week, Rambo from Calgary found some openings, but they are staying in the hip pocket of the receivers early on in this game right now.
Sean Lucas, the sophomore out of Tulane University, getting to play because of the injury to TJ Stansel, who's been banged up all season, and he has risen to the occasion for Saskatchewan this year. Paul McCallum stands at his 25-yard line. Corey Holmes back at his 30. For this punt, it bounces off the turf. McCallum has it on the hop and gets a nice punt away, driving Holmes back to his 20. Holmes with a stutter step and hammered. Jason Pottinger and Andre Sadigian tag team the tackle on special teams. No return on a 51-yard punt. Wednesday at 8:30, Mark Critch goes to Russia and claims red square for Canada on an all-new episode of This Hour Has 22 Minutes. You can catch it on a special day Wednesday at 8:30 on CBC. I guess that's in retaliation for the Russians trying to claim the Arctic. Kerry Joseph 0 for 7 in his last 7 attempts. Can he ignite it here and get back on track? In the silent count, play action to the short side, sack. Cam Wake with his 3rd sack of this football game.
Well, one of the things that Kerry Joseph did so well last week was the play action. Watch as he puts the ball in the West Cates and pulls it out, hoping to pull 91 inside. That is absolutely how you draw it. 91, Cameron Wake has to stay outside. Your job is the quarterback. He gets outside, well schooled. You know, Richie was on him all week about that. Excellent play.
What a rookie season for Cameron Wake. Loss of 9. 2nd and 19. Here they come again with a 4-man rush at the goal line. And Joseph escapes with a Houdini act. Head down and crashing across the 25. A great effort, but he'll be shy of the first down as the 3-minute warning is given to the benches at BC Place. Saskatchewan in a punting situation as Jamie Borum goes back to his 10-yard line. There's Baron Miles. He's blocked 2 punts this year for a total of 11 in his career, 1 off the league record held by Gerald Vaughn. And don't forget, he had a big punt block last year in this game. Borum will get it off as BC sets up the return, an end-over-end punt, and bouncing out of bounds for no return on the play at the 45-yard line. A 39-yard punt. Warrior of the game, we'd like you to log on to cbcsports.ca during the second half of this football game to vote for the player who you think has shown the heart and determination of a Warrior. Warrior of the game is brought to you by the all-new 2007 GMC Sierra, professional grade. And Chris, you'll be giving away an all-new 2007 GM Sierra at Walby's Warriors to the Ultimate Warrior next week. First down, play action. Jackson rolling wide side, throwing that way, and it's too high for Jason Claremont, and Lance Frazier sticks Claremont in the breadbasket.
Well, Jarius Jackson basically hang his receiver, Claremont out to dry, and that is a defensive back's dream when you know and you can see and cover and close on the ball, and the receiver goes up to try and make a grab, and you've got all those ribs exposed.
And it looks like Jackson has been trying to force the ball to Claremont. He's 0 for 5 in his last 5 attempts, including 1 interception. But Claremont has been well covered in this football game. There's Fred Perry, who leads this Saskatchewan defense. 70 tackles this year. 3 fumble recoveries for him. 3-man rush, and they get pressure. Chunky Adams in pursuit. Jackson throwing downfield, way overthrowing, just throwing it away. And G. Roy Simon was the nearest receiver, but he was a good 15 yards from where the ball hit the turf. Down to the sidelines for an update, and here's Karen.
Thank you, Mark. You saw Sherko Haji-Razuli leave on the cart. He's headed to the Lions dressing room. He fell hard on his left hip, and what they're going to look at is whether the top of his hamstring has pulled away from the bone. Not sure if he'll be able to return at this point in time. Mark and Chris?
Thanks, Karen. So Dean Valley in to replace him. It's a good thing the Lions weren't without Jimenez today. If his suspension had been held up, they'd be in big trouble on that O-line. Here's Corey Holmes getting outside. Tad Crawford in pursuit, along with Brett Anderson. And Anderson, the Vancouver fireman, puts out the Flames on that return. A 46-yard punt and an 11-yard return. 1:58 until halftime. Elliott, Greg, David, and Henry Burris standing by to talk about this first half and, of course, that East final. And then we'll go back in the day and revisit one of the legends here in BC, quarterback Joe Kapp, one of this league's finest quarterbacks during the early 1960s before he headed back to the NFL and the LA Rams. That's all coming up at halftime. The CFL on CBC. There he is, his name enshrined here on the wall of honor. Riders' last 5 possessions have gone nowhere on offense. Joseph's pass is knocked down at the line of scrimmage, and Aaron Hunt says he got his big paws up in front of that one. Hunt with 10 pass knockdowns this year, number 2 on that BC defense.
Well, I mean, that's something you want, especially out at the interior of your defensive line, because of the fact that usually your 2 tackles for most of the time are going to be in the throwing lane of your quarterback. And you see number 9, he just gets that right hand on it, knocks that ball down. It's a nice job of just trying to get in there and disrupt whatever vision or view that Kerry Joseph has.
Now both quarterbacks struggling for a completion. That's 14 passes between them that haven't been caught. Pressure in the flats, and DJ Flick has it. It's wide open on the wide side, and he's pushed out of bounds and into the Rider bench, but there is a flag on the play after a gain of 15 yards.
Well, flag thrown on both sides, and I believe this time, because they didn't blow the whistle, is against the Lions.
It is offside, BC.
Way to go, way to go. Offside, BC number 91. Penalties decline. First down.
Well, we've seen a number of times Denise Jones and that offensive line have jumped. They've had 3 procedures already in this game. This time, the defense, 91, trying to get the jump. Here's Johnson, here's 91, the 2 ends. Basically just trying to get the jump on the offensive tackles to try and create havoc in the backfield.
First completion for Joseph in 8 attempts. First down. 1:47 until halftime. A 5-man Lion rush. Joseph in trouble again. He escapes, and now he'll run past Floyd. Floyd collars him at the 50-yard line and drags him out of bounds. That will stop the clock, though, with 1:39 to go. And a gain of 5 for Kerry Joseph.
Well, this is just an absolutely wonderful job on the offensive line to pick up a blitzing linebacker from the outside. Watch the center pull out here and pick up the blitz. not only snap the ball, but get to the outside. That's O'Day. He's got to come all the way and pick up the blitzing linebacker to allow Joseph any opportunity to try and complete this. He can't. Decides to run with the ball, but again, something positive when it could have been very, very ugly.
Joseph not to be denied. 2nd and 5. 4-man rush. Pumping, in trouble. And a flag is down, and the play is whistled down. A timeout was called just before the ball was put into play.
Prior to the ball being snapped, Saskatchewan called a timeout.
And that was fortuitous for the quarterback because he was surrounded.
Well, the BC fans don't like it, but again, Ken Austin right beside the official, right by the sideline before the ball is snapped. Calls a timeout.
There's Ken Miller, the co-offensive coordinator and offensive line coach for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. But Kerry Joseph, again, looking much like he did last week in that West semifinal with the determination of a veteran. Chris, he's 34 years of age. You think back that he was playing flag football 5 years ago and coaching high school when Eric Tillman first gave him the opportunity to work in the CFL with Ottawa. And now he's come here after the dispersal draft to lead the Saskatchewan team. And by the way, speaking of Eric Tillman, we know you're looking in this afternoon, Eric. We hope you're well. You had some health issues last week and were unable to travel. And taking it in at home in Regina, I'm sure it's hard to watch and not be here with your team. But we hope you're feeling better. Joseph throwing too high this time for Corey Grant and incomplete. And so that drive will die. And the Riders will have to punt.
Now, I like this play selection, Mark. I like the fact they're trying to get Corey Grant. My only thing would be that instead of running up to the sideline where you get good cover, run him in a wheel route. Run to the sideline and run him up and at least allow your wide receiver, Corey Grant, to try and have an opportunity to run under the ball. If you overthrow him, at least he has an opportunity. But if you're going out of bounds, he's got no opportunity because the ball's already out of bounds.
So Joseph, who started quickly, has struggled in the second quarter passing-wise, although he has been able to move the ball with the crowd noise. Borum to punt. 5th punt in the last 6 possessions for Saskatchewan. And Borum, end over end, bouncing at the 25. A good bounce to the 15, and Ian Smart's going nowhere as he's quickly wrapped up on the play. Tad Cornegay and Tristan Clovis in on the tackle. 44 yards the punt, 2 yards the return. Next Saturday, Hockey Night in Canada. Scotiabank Hockey Tonight. All starts at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific time here in the coast. It's Toronto at Phoenix, Philly at Ottawa in the Ottawa region to see the Sens. And in Game 2, the doubleheader will have Chicago at Edmonton on Hockey Night in Canada. Dave Dickinson has come into this football game at quarterback here in the final minute 23 of this first half. He has played in all of 3 games this year after suffering a concussion July 13th against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Dickinson firing and a completion to Paris Jackson. And Jackson has his first catch of the football game.
Remember, Dave Dickinson is the most outstanding player, the MVP of the Grey Cup game last year. That's a pretty formidable backup to have come into your lineup.
Jackson struggling, 3 for 12 here in the opening half. He was 5 for 14 in the first half back in September against the Riders. Dickinson throwing again, wide open. Joe Smith leaking out of the backfield, and Smith will be tackled at the 40-yard line for a gain of 5.
Mark, one of the things that Dave Dickinson brings is watch as he's running a little bit of the hurry-up offense. The game to him is in slow motion. He's only played 3 games. He says, I'm as healthy as I've ever been. I haven't taken any hits since the Fred Perry hit, the first game that knocked him out, and that is the one that gave him the concussion. So he'll be looking for number 41 on the defense.
His 3rd concussion in less than 2 years. He was out for 3 months this year with the symptoms. Dickinson again, 3 for 3 now. Crossing right out of the backfield. Joe Smith on the rampage. Scott Gordon finally stops him at the 51 of Saskatchewan, a 19-yard game.
Mark, was interesting. Talking to Dave Dickinson yesterday, he says, I don't know what's going to happen. He says, but the next 2 games might very well dictate my future. If I get an opportunity to come in and make good things happen, I might make that decision. Very difficult for this organization.
Yeah, he was already contemplating next year, and thinking this might be his last year for BC. Dickinson loading up for Jackson, and it's too far. And his first incomplete throw in 4 attempts.
Well, but you see he's got such great touch on the ball. I mean, and right away, who do they go to? His favorite receiver in the West Final last year, Paris Jackson, who had 2 touchdown catches. Right away, he says, you know what? He sees things from the sideline, Mark, and he says, you know what, 19. He's been invisible. Let's get 19 back in this offense.
Paris Jackson coming off a career-high season, 962 yards receiving, just 38 shy of his first 1,000-yard receiving season. 2nd and 10 with 37 seconds to go. Dickinson trying to make haste here. Dickinson with time. Look at the time he's got. In the pocket. Now he'll run. And he's tackled shy of the first down, it looks like, but there is a flag on the play. Kitwana Jones was in on the play defensively for Saskatchewan.
Yeah, it's going against Saskatchewan. I know initially I saw a lot of the Roughriders jumping up down thinking it might have been a holding call against BC, but that's great protection by that offensive line because he had all day. As we see Kitwana Jones down, boy, they can't afford to lose him. Comes in and spots in that D-line and linebacker position. Great on special teams.
Illegal contact on a receiver. Saskatchewan number 15. That's a 10-yard penalty.
Big penalty against the Rider defense and a big injury, if this is serious, to Kitwana Jones.
They'll have to bring in Anton McKenzie. There he is right there, and he just runs into him. And a little tug on the jersey. And you know what? I mean, what do you want to do? Now, you put yourself in that situation. You got to cover Geroy Simon, and you got no pressure. I mean, I can't blame Lance Fraser. You know what? You got a guy that can run away from you like that. You might have to put the occasional tug on it.
I got to tell you this. Kitwana Jones, yesterday, Dave Dickinson said he's the best player they've got on defense. Well, that's how much respect he has for him. And look at Dickinson with no foot first slide there. Here's a quarterback out with a concussion for most of this year, and he puts his head down.
Listen, all the years we've watched Dave Dickinson, he doesn't slide pretty. He doesn't know how to slide. That's just the way he goes. That's the way he knows how to play this football game. Ain't pretty, but he gets it done.
Is it advisable?
Well, definitely not if you're taking 3 concussions.
Mike McCullough, the 5th-year Canadian out of St. Francis Xavier, is in for Kitwana Jones. Dickinson in the shotgun under pressure and sacked. Scotty Schultz, the Moose Jaw native, gobbles up Dickinson.
Mark, earlier this game we saw the BC Lions start to get a little momentum. John Chick came through with a big hit, big sack. And again, it is John Chick coming, forcing Dickinson up. I mean, this Chick kid's a player. He's a keeper. But the Moose Jaw native, Scott Schultz, finishes it off.
And a big loss in the play. That's 9 yards, which effectively has pushed BC out of field goal range here with 23 seconds on the clock. And Dickinson trying to get some points here in the dying seconds for BC to go into the half. The Lions called a timeout. Dickinson now coming back from the bench after conversing with his coaching staff. And Scotty Schultz with a big sack there and a 9-yard loss. Make it 2nd and 19, BC. They need to get across the 40. Dickinson against a 3-man rush, 9 drop, and a short pass is bobbled. Josh Bowden incomplete, on his knees, can't hold on.
And a great job. This is exactly what, you know what, Richie Hall, they do what's called a little bit of an umbrella defense. They drop 9, rush 3. Really forces the quarterback to hold on to the ball and try and find somebody open to find. He can't find anybody. He goes to the closest receiver, goes into the ground. Nice job of the defense. That's a well-executed play.
And so it'll force Paul McCallum to punt. Well out of his range. He stands across his side of center now at his own 46. Corey Holmes looking just to make sure he takes care of this kick. Standing inside his 10. An end-over-end punt to Holmes. At his 13, Holmes gets a good block in a seam. Still on his feet, busts another block. And Sadigian, the young Canadian out of McMaster, the rookie, makes the tackle. A 13-yard return and 6 seconds left on the clock. One of 3 Canadians drafted in last year's 07 draft and in the lineup in uniform for BC this year, Andre Sadigian. Kerry Joseph, who has struggled through the air in the second quarter, Chris, after a hot start, will just run out the clock.
Well, let's take a look at John Schick. Now, his job after trying to block the punt is to go after the kicker. Now, look at McCallum. McCallum just turns to the official and goes, hey, he can't do that. Sure he can, but look at Schick. Just watches him. It's like a little game of, you know, can you get over this line? I don't think you can.
That's like Bambi versus Godzilla.
I tell you, if I was Paul McCallum and I had Schick like that, I'd also talk to the official.
Gun sounds as Joseph takes the final 6 seconds off the clock. And the underdog, Saskatchewan Roughriders, have capitalized on BC turnovers. 13 points on 3 Lions turnovers and a 3-point lead. Here's Karen.
Thank you, Mark. Here with Kent Austin, head coach of Saskatchewan. Coach, you got the lead heading into the dressing room. That's got to feel awfully good. Your defense really keeping BC in check here.
Yeah, defense is playing well right now. Proud of them. You know, they pressure our quarterback a little bit. We got to make more throws. We're not spotting the ball very well down the center right now.
Yeah, the offense came out guns a-blazing, but it's cooled off. What refinements are you going to be looking for?
Throws. We got guys open. We got to complete the ball, be more accurate down the center.
Thanks, Coach. Mark, back to you.
Thanks, Karen. Ken Austin anxious to get into the locker room and make those adjustments. A vicious defensive battle in this opening half with the green and white up by a field goal.
Sports Cafe. Winnipeg awaits the winner, and right now it's Saskatchewan. The Roughriders with a slim 3-point lead here at halftime. Ian Smart fumbled early to lead to Saskatchewan's touchdown, and Greg Frères walked up and remembered. What did Ken Austin say about special teams yesterday?
Well, he said, knowing how beat up his team is, we have got to be great on special teams.
He said if we don't win the special teams battle, we lose the game, and here is the fumble in question. All right, Henry, I know what you're going to vote about this because you don't think any quarterback should ever be yanked. But David, what do you have to say about the fact that Wally made the switch to Dave Dickinson so quickly?
I almost look at it as a change of pace because now any defensive player knows when Dave steps in, the throws are going to be crisp. He's already been reading your defense. He's already figured out what your weaknesses are. Now you've got to get to him with the blitz. And DBs, for God's sake, you better be covered.
Henry?
I mean, a guy like Dave Dickinson, I mean, he's a great manager. And also, we call him the scientist because he can dissect the defense, especially a defense like Saskatchewan's where they play a lot of different zones. Dave has seen that look before. So when he comes out there, he's a catalyst. He gets the ball to the guys, whether it's down the field, dump downs to Joe Smith and allows him to run, but he makes smart decisions, and that's why Dave Dickinson's so special, and that's why he's in the game now. Well,
and this is uncharacteristic for Wally Buono. We talked about it in our pregame show, and you know what? He senses that Jarius Jackson is not seeing the field very well. That is not going to be the case with a Dave Dickinson and the type of experience he has as a CFL quarterback.
Jarius Jackson, 3 of 12, 51 yards, 2 interceptions in the first half. But the one thing, maybe we all should have seen this coming because it was Wally Buono a couple weeks ago who said, I learned from 2004. I did it with my heart and not my head. He uses his head today. Greg, what were the kinds of things that Saskatchewan was doing to confuse Jarius Jackson?
Well, you know what? Richie Hall has done a very nice job, defensive coordinator, and just a little bit of smoke and mirrors. The first interception, it looks like it's going to be a zero blitz with the safety coming off. Maurice Lloyd just sneaks out. Jarius Jackson does not see it quickly enough. The second blitz, you see Fred Perry, the rush end. He lines up as a linebacker, hits the hole with speed, and then they do a twist behind it with the interior defensive lineman. Schick comes open. Nice sack on the second play that we saw.
I think there are three defensive coordinators in the CFL that you got to pass their test. Richie Hall would be one. Dave Ritchie would be the other, and Ron Stubler would be the third. If you can't pass their test, you're out of it.
Rich Stubler, by the way, maybe the head coach in Toronto. Pinball Clemens, after losing today, still quiet about his future. Henry, you heard Ken Austin talk about it. He said that we're missing open throws. Kerry Joseph has been wild as of late. What are you seeing?
Well, that's because of pressure. I mean, anytime you have your offensive tackles and your guys up front who are unstable right now and getting procedure calls, it puts you in some pretty desperate situations. Cam Wake's been getting pressure all day. And I mean, look at him. He's running all over the place trying to find guys that are open. But again, you got to be able to stand in there, focus on what's going on downfield, not worry about what's happening within the interior offensive line.
Well, and the defensive line for BC is doing a nice job of corralling him as well. They're not being overly aggressive in making the tackle, and so now they're waiting for all the troops to come there. They are not going to allow Kerry Joseph to beat them with his legs.
But look at Gino Mikowski. He is the veteran, the wily veteran. He's pitching a great game against Cam Wake and Brent Johnson, but because you see most of the pressure is coming from Jermise Jones. And I hate to call you out Big Sexy, but that's just what I see in right now.
Is that your nickname for him, Big Sexy?
We have those names for each other.
What does he call you?
No comment right now.
He's
a family show.
He's not going to be calling you a lot of nice things after you called him out
probably
here.
not.
Wes Cates, by the way, very quiet in that first half. 3 carries for 11 yards, no receptions. Wally Buono and Karen Larson still to come, and we'll hear if this is Dickinson's game from now on. Luka Conji had 6 field goals last week. He's got 2 today, and he's the reason Saskatchewan is ahead.
Back at BC Place in a near-capacity crowd for this West Final as the underdog Roughriders have a 3-point lead as we get set for the start of the third quarter. Right now, here's Karen with Wally Buono.
Wally, you made the quarterback switch at the end of the second quarter. Dave Dickinson in for Jarius Jackson. Why?
Well, obviously, we weren't very good on offense, and, you know, unfortunately, it starts at quarterback. You know, we have to make a change to get better. Dave got in there, moved the football. You know, it was unfortunate that we took the sack.
Does Dave have the ball for the rest of the game?
Well, right now, you know, we're going to start on defense, but you know what? We're going to give the ball to Dave and see what happens.
All right, good luck in the second half, Wally. Mark?
Thanks, Karen. It was just yesterday that Wally Buono was telling us that this team was united around Jarius Jackson, and he said, I will not have a short leash for Jarius if he's making the right reads. And then he said, I would rather cut a player than pull a player.
Yeah, but I think the situation, Mark, was in the last time the situation happened, they couldn't pull him because they had no backup. Buck Pierce was hurt and Dickinson wasn't available, so that was an emergency situation only. Right now, you have Dave Dickinson. He was the MVP of the Grey Cup game last year. I mean, it just makes sense to me to put him in the game.
With Dickinson, they get a more experienced quarterback, but a less mobile quarterback.
Well, I think that's exactly what you're trading off. Jarius Jackson is smart. He knows the game. He's just overthrowing receivers, but the fact is he's more mobile. Now, they also know that Dave Dickinson has more experience, is smarter, but the fact is he is less mobile. He'll sit in the pocket. So, therefore, defensively, Richie Hall can change some of his defensive blitzes to go against Dave Dickinson.
And it's real interesting. There's Richie Hall and contemplating his halftime adjustments for what he expects will be a very tough second half with Dave Dickinson now at the controls.
Well, and I think the biggest thing right now is, as Saskatchewan said, if we can hang around long enough, we can win this football game. Conversely, on the other side, BC said we didn't want to have Saskatchewan hang around. We wanted to put up good points in the first quarter. They've allowed Saskatchewan to stay in this football game, and they have the lead right now, 13-10. It is anybody's ball game with 30 minutes left.
And all 13 points off of turnovers as we take a look at the halftime statistics.
Well, obviously, it has been a defensive game in the first half. If you take a look at the net yards, 102 to 112 for BC. The fact is only 6 combined first downs in the second quarter. Turnovers a story right now. 3 by the BC Lions that have resulted in 13 points for Saskatchewan.
Well, the Riders will take the ball here to start the second half. Corey Holmes with that banged up shoulder stands deep along with Tad Cornegay on special teams. Cornegay getting some work now. The ball is kicked off by Paul McCallum to start this second half, and 3 points separating these two football teams. Holmes going wide side and knocked to the turf by Corey Rogers. Kerry Joseph started quickly, then got sluggish amid the pressure from the BC defense and the noise of this BC crowd.
Well, they had a nice opening drive. He started to move the ball around. He's got the 1 touchdown, 13-yarder to Andy Fantuz. He's gone deep a couple of times. He's tried to make things work, but the big stat mark, 1 for 10 passing in the second quarter. He's got to improve on that.
He's got a clean slate for the second half on first down at his own 32. Joseph and the Riders. Play action. Rolling to the backside and open down the middle is Andy Fantuz, who makes the catch to move the yardsticks on the opening offensive play of this second half.
Well, much like he did early on in the first quarter, he was looking for number 83. 83, Andy Fantuz, was doing a very nice job of finding holes. Watch as he runs in there. See what they do with Michael Palmer? Michael Palmer kind of runs through the coverage, and that allows Andy Fantuz to just kind of sit softly in the hole.
5th catch for Fantuz, who has been a huge factor after the injury to Matt Dominguez. Here's the draw to Holmes, and Holmes is stuffed as Corey Banks was right up along the line of scrimmage from his halfback position, and it's a loss of 1 on the play. Banks has been a huge force with pressure, 4 sacks during the regular season.
He just is one of those impact players, 24. He said, you know what, we know they all got to cover, but you got to be able to come up and get your nose a little dirty. You got to be a little tough sometimes and go after the running back and stick your head in there. He does a nice job on that play.
Interesting to note, Wes Cates not starting in the backfield. There he is on the bench. Holmes in the backfield. 2nd and 11. Joseph firing short side, going up forward. It's complete. And Yo Murphy, the veteran, the former Renegade, has his first catch of the football game. But they'll spot him a couple of yards shy of that first down marker.
They're going to come up a little short. I like the fact that Joseph is going to use the experience of Yo Murphy. He is a go-to clutch receiver. You can't let him just run as a decoy the whole game. The fact is, you make the cover guy have to respect him now. The fact that they're even looking at number 5 means I've got to keep my head in this ball game and not relax.
Well, they were together back in their Renegade days. Murphy, the veteran, not quite enough. 2 yards shy of the first down. James Smart, the lone man back. Jamie Moore at his 42, trying to tilt the field in Saskatchewan's favor. A nice deep spiral, pushing Smart back to 13, and he's forced right out of bounds. A flag is down as Tristan Clovis, the sophomore out of McMaster, shoves the returner Smart out of touch.
Mark, that's an excellent punt by Jamie Borham to put him. That's exactly what you wanted to do. You want to kick it to the corner of the field, to allow your cover team to get down there and not allow Smart to get to the outside. Perfectly executed by the punter.
Tristan Clovis making his second big play on special teams.
Holding BC number 31. Half the distance to the goal. First down.
First down at the BC 7-yard line for Dave Dickinson, who will start this second half after relieving Jarius Jackson late in the second quarter. Jackson with a rough start here in his first playoff start. 3 completions in 12 attempts for 51 yards. Dickinson had 3 in his first 5. Can the veteran Dickinson dig himself out of tough field position? 4 receivers to the wide side. Play action, throws to the short side. It's a bubble screen, and Paris Jackson will get some blocks and be tackled near the 15 for a gain of 8.
And another thing that Dave Dickinson gives you as we take a look at another Rough Rider down the field is the fact that he can change plays. Looks like James Johnson, the injured ball player. There's Rob Murphy. Just hit the receiver or the defensive end, get outside. He misses his block. But what they do, the reason you run a bubble screen is to take away from the blitz inside. If they're going to bring guys up inside, you run a screen to the outside where they get caught up in a wash and they can't make the tackle.
It is James Johnson, the West Division All-Star, in just his second season, and in comes Tad Cornegay, the former Tiger Cat, to replace the fallen James Johnson. We'll take a break here at BC Place. Back at BC Place, where Tad Cornegay takes up James Johnson's spot in this secondary after the injury to James Johnson.
Well, you can see Reggie Hunt, and he's just going to fall right there. He falls across the knees of Johnson. Johnson, who is the only all-star on that secondary for Saskatchewan, out, but looks like he's okay, and maybe he'll be back.
Cornegay in, one of 15 former Tiger Cats with Saskatchewan. Second down, short yardage. And the Lions won't get there as Joe Smith is tackled a yard across the line of scrimmage. And the defense has held Dickinson on the opening series and forcing BC to punt.
Well, this is a great play. And once again, I tell you, John Chick, you are playing one whale of a football game, son. He's over here. Watch this. Just goes in and plays the arm and comes back inside. That's what's called shedding the tackle. After you get off him, the tackle's on you, throw him, come back to the inside, stuff the running back. Reggie Hunt in there as well, but a nice job by 97, John Chick.
Remember earlier this year in September when John Chick was held down on the field in that Ranger chokehold by Rob Murphy that was seen across the country, and he has come back in his first meeting with this big offensive line and done very well.
Let him go!
McCallum shanks the punt, bouncing at midfield. Holmes drawing in the Lions. He'll get a flag and he'll scoot upfield for 6 more on a 36-yard punt. No yards will be the call against BC. Saturday Alpine Ski Series on CBC begins at 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific time with the Pontiac Alpine Ski Series from Panorama, the women's giant slalom run number 1. Then we'll have the Panorama women's giant slalom run number 2 at 4:30 Eastern. Lake Louise men's downhill next Sunday, live coverage on CBC Country Canada, so check your local listings for all that. Well, the penalty was declined by Saskatchewan, and Kerry Joseph will start first down across the 45 of BC. Wes Cates back in the backfield, blocking on Brent Johnson, and Johnson gets away, but the ball is upfield to Corey Grant, and Grant is tackled, making a great catch in traffic. And we'll see where they spot it, but it looks like a Saskatchewan first down and a gain of 11.
And Kerry Joseph is just sacrificing his body, trying to buy himself whatever extra time he can to try and find something downfield. The pocket's going to collapse. He sees it. There's nothing there. He's going to step up. And just as he throws that ball, Brent Johnson's all over him and smacks him to the ground. But again, just that extra second allows him to find the receiver.
This is a guy who came out of McNeese State as a quarterback. The Washington Redskins tried to make him a running back. He spent 4 years as a safety in Seattle and got to play his position back here in the CFL. On the draw, Wes Cates with a vigorous run and a gain of 8 on the play. And that's his best run of the game, Chris.
Well, he's only had, that was his 4th carry of the game, I believe. He really hasn't carried it much today. We wondered about the fact that he has a stress fracture on his left foot. Took a pain medication shot to try and freeze it. But you see him, he's trying to drive off of it. I don't think he's got that. I'm pretty sure it's an obvious thing that you don't have the same push when you're injured, that guy.
2nd and 2, Saskatchewan. Joseph gets it away. Hand off to Cates again, and Cates, running with authority, is hogtied by Otis Floyd, but a gain of 3, and Cates has a Rider first down.
Well, Wes Cates, who has the only 100-yard rushing by a running back from Saskatchewan this year against these BC Lions, just takes it. I mean, it's nothing fancy. You're not going to get the juke and the jive and a lot of the cuts right now because he is only going to be purely effective going straight north-south.
Picked up in a trade with Calgary before the start of the season. Rob Lazio going to the Stamps. Cates a fixture in the backfield for the Riders this year. 1,300 yards of offense. Play action this time to Cates. Joseph can run on the roll. He will. Heading upfield and out of bounds with a first down.
And Mark, the interesting thing about this play is the man who said he wasn't worried about Kerry Joseph, Otis Floyd, number 35, bites on the play action and allows Joseph to get to the outside. All week he's been talking about, I'm not worried about Kerry. He's not going to be getting, I have no nightmares about number 4. That was a nightmare coming his way right there.
Maybe he was just trying to fool himself because Joseph ran for 109 last week in the semifinal. A gain of 15 yards there and a first down. 1st and goal, Saskatchewan at the BC 7-yard line. Fans trying to help out with the noise. Here comes the BC blitz. The ball is away and complete to Holmes. Javi Glatt makes the tackle to keep Holmes out of the end zone. And Holmes is tackled near the 1.
Boy, talk about making adjustments. The second quarter, Kerry Joseph goes 1 for 10. Those are not very good numbers. But he comes out in the 3rd quarter. His passes are crisp, they're efficient, they're on the money, and he's moving this offense again.
You heard Ken Austin tell Karen, we've got guys open, we just got to hit them. And he's got Kerry back on track as big Chris Zarka comes into the game. They've got the heavy team in. The Riders do for this 2nd and goal situation from the BC 2-yard line. A double tight end formation. 3 backs in the backfield. The handoff No, it's faked. The pass into the end zone. Wide open, Neil Hughes. Touchdown, Saskatchewan, as Kerry Joseph fools everybody.
I think that is just an excellent play. They line up, 3 backs in the backfield, and they leak Hughes out. Now, one of the things that Ken Austin has said is Neil Hughes doesn't get a lot of credit, but he might have the nicest set of hands on our football team. And there he is, right in the back in the end zone, doesn't get picked up. They thought the handoff was going to go to Cates or Zarka, and he leaks out. And nice job, and boy, that is really a beautiful run of the offense by Kerry Joseph.
Neil Hughes with his first receiving touchdown of the year, and it's a huge one. Kerry Joseph using smelling salts at the Rider bench after that scoring drive of 6 plays over 44 yards.
Well, they're going to run 3 backs. There's Hughes, there's Zarker, and there's Cates. And what they're going to do is they're just going to sleek him right out there. Now, freeze it right there, guys. Take a look. That is Javi Glatt right here, and he's supposed to pick up the back. He doesn't pick him up. The result is a touchdown.
What a play-action fake to leave Neil Hughes wide open. Ian Smart's return is short as he is brought down at the BC 42-yard line, but the Saskatchewan Roughriders and Kerry Joseph, who continues to get the cobwebs out with smelling salts at the Rider bench, guiding this team on a brilliant scoring drive. Wes Cates led off with an 8-yard carry in traffic. Then it was the quarterback himself hustling 15 more yards out of bounds for a first down. And then this tremendous play-action fake that fooled the Lions, finding Regina's Neil Hughes in the end zone, the former Ram, with his first playoff touchdown. Pressure on Dickinson. He gets away from Sean Lucas. He's in trouble, and Lucas gets him a second time. Sacked in the backfield.
And Mark, we talked about, yes, you get experience with Dave Dickinson, but the fact is you give up mobility. And that allows Sean Lucas, he's coming right off the bottom of your screen, almost very lucky not to get a headshot right there, and then comes back. That's hustle. Keep working, and brings down Dave Dickinson the second time.
3 sacks apiece for the defenses. And we talked about Dickinson's mobility being a factor. We'll see how that plays out in the second half. They bring the blitz again. Lloyd up the middle. Dickinson throwing, in trouble again, and sacked. The ball's loose. The ball has been fumbled, and it's Saskatchewan football. Kitwana Jones gets the recovery. Reggie Hunt forces the strip, and it's the 4th turnover of the game by BC. Reggie Hunt forced to fumble last week in the semifinal. He's done it again here in the final, recovered by Kitwana Jones.
Well, they're trying to confuse the defense. Now watch, there's Kitwana Jones and there's Reggie Hunt. Watch as he just comes over here and times it and allows Hunt to come from the outside. Just trying to confuse the offensive lineman. It's perfect timing. He gets around the outside. Hunt causes the fumble. Kitwana with the recovery. Excellent job by the defense.
Saskatchewan's 6th possession, starting inside BC territory. 6 of 12 offensive possessions as the Lions blitz Joseph. Joseph has time to stand in. It's too high. Intended for Andy Fantus, who takes a shot from LeVar Glover after the ball sails high.
And we watched Kerry Joseph, previous to coming on this offensive series, with the smelling salts. And you wonder if he's not a little bit woozy yet. He's got the receiver. There's pressure coming, but he sits in there and he delivers the ball. He's got the right guy. He just overthrows it. You see Fantus working, and it comes back, finds a hole, just overthrown, and allows Glover to come up and give him a shot after.
Joseph red hot to start this second half. 5 completions in 6 attempts. That was his first incomplete pass of the third quarter. A big second down in the flats. Wes Cates has it, head down, and he'll be stopped at the 25. It'll be a field goal situation for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who continue to try to take advantage of points off of BC turnovers. They already have 13 in that department.
Well, they're hoping to get Corey Grant comes in. He's going to try and block and seal everything inside and allow Case to get to the outside. Nice job of completing the pass, but you got to give credit to that BC defense. They fly to the ball and bring down Case short.
33-yard attempt for Luka Kanji, the Waterloo native, who has been good on 2 of 2 so far. From the left hash marks. Kanji strikes the ball hard and good. So Luka Kanji with his 9th field goal in the past 2 weeks, building on that Rider lead. By Carlos Huerta last week when he was 6 of 8 has been perfect so far today, 3 for 3. And the Riders now have 16 points off of BC turnovers.
You know, they're still capitalizing. Yes, they'd like to get the touchdowns, Mark, but the fact is, every little bit helps. And the fact that they're getting the 3 field goals from Kanji, and they're a big kick still, that really helps, and that makes your offense say, you know what, every time we put more points up, puts more pressure on the BC offense to respond.
So Smart will await the kick. His team now 13 points in arrears after 10 quick points here in the 3rd quarter by Saskatchewan. Borum with a high kick but short, coming down at the 22. Smart already at the 40, gets a crease, and he could be gone. Here comes Eddie Davis. It's a foot race, and Davis will take him out of bounds. Ian Smart breaks free again.
Well, the second return, it fakes like he's going in the middle, finds a little crease, and that's all this Dynamo needs, and he takes it up the field. Eddie Davis, great hustle to bring him out, but that's a second big return by Ian Smart, and Ken Austin had one word of warning yesterday, Mark. He says, if we lose the special team battles, we'll lose this game.
Yes, might that be prophetic? A 77-yard return on the kickoff by Ian Smart. Dickinson passing. It's complete to G-Roy Simon. Touchdown, BC. And just like that, the Lions answer back. 2 plays, the kick return and the pass for the touchdown.
Well, Saskatchewan has done such a nice job for the majority of the game on their cover teams, but it doesn't take but 1 or 2 plays, and you allow a guy like Ian Smart to exploit any kind of opening, and he puts their offense in great position. 1 play later, the veteran Dave Dickinson finds his go-to guy, G-Roy Simon.
Simon has reignited this home crowd with an 11-yard touchdown catch from the veteran Dave Dickinson, who replies after turning over the ball with a fumble with a touchdown pass on the next series. No, they're buoyant here at BC Place. All 55,000 cheering for Superman G-Roy Simon's touchdown.
Well, I'll tell you what, Joe Smith does just a great job of coming over and picking up Reggie Hunt on the blitz, and that allows just the extra time needed for Dave Dickinson. Now freeze it here, guys. Take a look at this. Look at the cover guy, and look who he runs into. There's the official. That's just an easy jaunt into the end zone for G-Roy Simon.
Well, the umpire with a pick. G-Roy Simon, just his 2nd catch, is good for a touchdown here this afternoon, as Brett Anderson sends the ball aloft. Holmes from the 21. Holmes hog-collared, and down he goes, careening across the 35-yard line. Collapsible pylons, a bottoms-up drinking game, and inflated hoodie for added comfort. Only the Dragons decide what makes the grade. Join them in the Dragons Den with an all-new episode Monday at 8 on CBC. You mentioned how Ken Austin said if we lose the special teams game, we might lose the game. And they are really hamstrung in that department because BC has a healthy Ian Smart to return kicks. Ken Austin, he has to take the ball at the 35 after field goal attempts because both Ronick and Hill, Josh Ronick and Khalil Hill, aren't in uniform. They're hurt, and Corey Holmes is banged up. Joseph back to pass. Wide open in the flats is Corey Grant at the 40. And LeVar Glover makes the tackle.
We've seen this play a number of times where he's tried to hit Corey Grant. He does it successfully. Picks about 4 yards on this. Now, Glover is cheating on this play. I'm telling you right now. LeVar Glover, 27, that corner, is watching this play. He's peeking, and he is jumping this route. He comes so close. Now he secures the receiver, Corey Grant. I wonder if a pump and fake would not allow Grant to get behind him.
Maybe they're setting that up, Chris. Mike Palmer in now on 2nd and 6 for Neil Hughes. BC blitzing, flags down, and it looks like procedure induced by this deafening crowd noise as both Jones and Mikowski, the tackles move.
Well, you know, the big play by Smart and a touchdown by Simon has brought life back to this BC crowd.
Procedure, Saskatchewan number 60. 5-yard penalty, repeat second down.
4th procedure for Saskatchewan.
Well, again, it's just right over here. You can see he's just going to jump back. He's trying to do the mental count, the mental snap count. And it just sometimes it's really tough, especially when you're the farthest away from that ball at the tackle position.
2nd and 11. Three-man rush. They drop 9. Joseph has time, throws, complete to Andy Fantuz, and he's hard to bring down over the center field stripe for a big Saskatchewan first down.
What a huge play for this offense. The fact is they're pushed 5 yards back because of the procedure, and now they got to get protection because you know they're going to bring the blitz. Knowlton coverage. You see Fantuz just trying to get through all that traffic. The reason they run through traffic, Mark, is hopefully their cover guy gets picked off.
It looked like Knowlton got into some traffic there and couldn't keep up with Fantuz. 6 catch, now 66 yards to go with that touchdown. 19 on that play. At midfield, first down Saskatchewan. Handing off, Wes Cates running downfield and tackled by Javi Glatt at the 49. It'll be a gain of 6 on the play for Wes Cates, playing with that stress fracture in his left foot after missing the last 4 games. But the last time he met this team on September 15th, he was running roughshod and making big plays, even on special teams.
And you can see from that video, Mark, he had a lot more mobility when he had a healthy foot.
He's a good blocker, too, and they need that against this BC pressure. A blitz again in the flats. DJ Flick escapes Corey Banks down the sideline. First down.
Mark, they tried to run this play earlier in the first half. They had a procedure call. It got called back, but DJ Flick, it's there all day, and he really exhibits his speed. He's got some great foot speed when he gets out there. And they do different variations of this play. We've seen it with Holmes. We've seen it with Cates. This time they give it to number 3, Flick, and he really gets to the outside of this BC defense.
Dave Ritchie with a pressure defense. But I'll tell you what, Chris, this is the 5th-ranked pass defense in the league. 5th best out of 8 teams. And right now, Saskatchewan is finding holes.
It's all about protecting your quarterback.
First down at the 29. Play action. Blitz from Glatt. The ball is knocked down as the middle linebacker from UBC. Looks like he got a piece of it.
Well, they really did a nice job on. Javi Glatt comes on this play, and he's on a blitz. What's interesting to note is to watch Brent Johnson. Now, he's in a spy technique at the defensive end. He's going to come up, and all he's going to do is just watch. As he comes in there, you see 6 is in your screen. He gets a hand on it. But look at 97. 97 is just sitting there, and all he's doing is a spy technique, not allowing Joseph to get to the outside.
Big Brent Johnson, 12 sacks, 3 fumble recoveries this year on that D-line. Joseph has missed only 2 of 11 attempts, and here comes the blitz. They bring the house. He gets the ball away and nearly intercepted as the interception leader in the CFL, Ryan Phillips, got his hands on it.
Well, this is one of the plays where he thought the receiver was going to turn inside, and the receiver turned outside.
DJ Flick.
Well, Flick and Fantuz working one-on-one, and they're trying to just create a little confusion in the backfield. I think they fooled the quarterback on this time. As you see, Flick was anticipating the ball to go to the sideline. Joseph threw it to the interior of the field. There's Fantuz, who's working on top of him, and he's going up. So really, when Fantuz is going outside, that means Flick is supposed to come inside. I'd blame that one on Flick right there. That's exactly what he's saying.
Another traffic jam, though, on the play. Kanji 3 for 3. This one from the 36. Left hash marks. He's got lots of leg, and it's good. So Luka Kanji has been good on all 4 of his field goals here today. And that is now 13 Saskatchewan points since halftime.
Well, and again, a nice job of moving that ball, of controlling it. And one of the things you're also doing, Mark, is you're eating the clock. The more your offense is on the field, the less time that Dave Dickinson is on the field with his BC offense.
Riders have scored on 3 straight drives in this second half. Which will remind you, Hockey Night in Canada next Saturday. The Scotiabank Hockey Tonight show begins at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific. Leafs at Phoenix, and the Flyers at the Sens in the Ottawa region. And Game 2 as Chicago at Edmonton. Well, these Lions came in as heavy favorites, and now Wally Buono is having a few words with the BC defense as the coordinator, Dave Ritchie, talks with one of his big captains, Mark Washington, as they try to solve this Saskatchewan offense. If you're just joining us, the game story so far, BC plagued by turnovers in their own park. The Riders have been opportunists in that department with 16 points. Joseph 2 touchdown passes, and Dave Dickinson coming off the bench in the final 2 minutes of the first half to replace Jarius Jackson, who had completed only 3 of 12 passes in that opening half. It's a short kick to the 37, caught by Lyle Green, the fullback, and he'll be stopped at the 45 as the Riders keep that football away from Ian Smart after that 77-yard return on the last kick.
Well, you know what, I agree with this to a point. The thing I don't like about this is it gives the offense instant field position. I say, you know what? We gaffed. We made mistakes on the last cover. Let's go down and atone for it. Let's kick it deep and pin them deep. I don't like when you give the field position up like that this easy.
Richie Hall taking notes. His defense looking for another stand as Dave Dickinson goes to work at his own 45. Terrific field position. 3 receivers wide side. He's looking to the boundary. And it's complete to Paris Jackson. One-on-one with the shutdown corner, James Johnson, who was injured earlier in the game.
Well, Paris Jackson really gets it done. I mean, he is a big, lanky receiver and knows how to work the field. He runs off, and then he comes back to the ball, knows where that first down marker is, gets knocked out of bounds. It's going to be very, very close to a first down.
And the officials are going to measure it and bring the sticks in. You mentioned Paris Jackson, what a great athlete. I mean, they say he could have been a basketball player if he decided not to play football. He was also a pretty good hockey player here in West Van. There is the measurement. There'll be about the length of the football short as Ron Johnson marks it on the chains. And Jarius Jackson has come back into the football game for this short yardage play.
Well, much like they ran the offense last year, where Jackson always came in for those third down gambles. And again, because of his mobility and his quickness, it allows you an option of either going behind or even taking it wide over the tackle to pick up that first down.
Steph Kruk, the co-offensive coordinator. Dan Durazio on the sidelines with his quarterback Dickinson, and taking no chances on the glass quarterback by putting in Jarius Jackson on short yardage.
And remember, second and this short, you can try to go deep and try and fool him on a pass.
Yes, you've got a chance to have an extra play here. We've seen that before as they load up the line of scrimmage and they'll just sneak it. And Jackson will have the first down, and there's a pile of humanity at center field. That will be the final play of the third quarter here at BC Place in Vancouver. Fourth quarter straight ahead here in Vancouver. The hometown Lions have been turnover prone, and they have already changed quarterbacks with Dickinson On the field for Jarius Jackson, an ill-fated start, his first playoff start, as Wally Buono pulled out the short leash on his starter and inserted the veteran Dave Dickinson. The Grey Cup MVP from 2006, trying to rally his team from behind. Dropping back to pass under pressure and sacked. It's John Chick. His second sack of the football game. The rookie out of Utah State.
You talk to Wally Buono, and he says to me, one guy that I really like, and I know all the stars that are, is this guy, 97. He's got speed. He comes around that corner, and he wraps up. Let's take a look at Jason downfield. Oh, man. Maurice Lloyd gets away with one right there as he pops Jason Claremont over the middle.
Oh, it's getting physical. That's the third sack on Dickinson, the fifth sack of the game for the Riders. 2nd and 18. Dickinson in trouble again. He escaped the pressure. There's a flag on the play, and he has a completion to Joe Smith at midfield. Barely back near the line of scrimmage, but it looks like a holding indication against the Lions offensive line.
Well, anytime that Dave Dickinson, who is not the most fleet of foot, gets to the outside, that really puts your tackle in a tough position because he's really not going to run away from the defenders. As a result, your tackle's usually got to hold or grab on to allow him to try and get to the outside. They got him for a holding on this one.
BC number 60. That penalty's declined. 3rd down.
Jason Jimenez, who has been in the news for the last 2 weeks after the hit he gave to Anthony Gargiulo, fractured his leg in 3 places and tore apart his ligaments, and has left him out of football perhaps for the rest of his career.
We wish him all the best and hope he has a speedy and a great recovery and can return to the game he loves.
Paul McCallum with time, and he gets a beauty. A deep spiral to the 9-yard line. Holmes surrounded, gets away from Tyson Craigs, and then is flattened near the 10-yard line. Good cover by the Lions, holding that return to just 6 yards. PA announcer has just asked the fans here to crank up the volume as Saskatchewan gets set to go on offense. 3-quarter numbers, Chris.
Well, I think they really echo that the Saskatchewan defense is playing a whale of a game. BC in that 3rd quarter only 2 first downs and another turnover, Mark, on the Dave Dickinson fumble that led to another field goal by Kanji.
Look at the time of possession, a full 10 minutes better by Saskatchewan. The handoff up the gut, a great move by Cates, and look at him fly, high stepping his way, and a huge first down as Cates broke contain on the first tackle, and it has a gain of 22 yards, broken foot and all.
Well, you got to get blocks from your offensive line, but he does the rest himself. Let's take a look at Jermise Jones as he goes down there and it turns back. And the fact that he turns back and just pops Wake a little bit and makes Wake restart allows Cates to find that opening. Nice job. That is a really nice job of blocking and trying to help out on the 2nd level.
What a block by Wayne Smith on Tyrone Williams on that line of scrimmage as well. First down, Saskatchewan. Handing off to Cates again, and he squeaks through that line of scrimmage. And he'll have a gain on the play of about 4, maybe 5 yards.
Well, and this is exactly the script you want to do. You've got the lead. You don't want to be putting the ball in the air all the time. You want to establish a running game because you want to eat the clock. Nice job again of the offensive line getting off and putting at least them in a 2nd and short situation or mid. They pick up 5 yards and a first down.
Ken Austin's Riders already own time of possession, and they have scored on their last 3 offensive possessions, a touchdown and 2 field goals. And driving again in the flats, and it's incomplete, intended for DJ Flick, who was wide open, but the ball was low and too far in front, and so the Riders on that miscue will have to punt.
But that is a miscue caused by the Riders because this is the perfect play. You see Banks talking to Buono. I saw Mark Washington yelling at the rest of his defenders. They're not getting the proper calls out there. And as a result, you see them all pointing over there. They recognize it. But by the time they react, it's too late. Very fortunate that DJ could not get the handle on that ball.
So Gorham, with the clock ticking, will take as much time off the play clock as he can in the final 10 seconds on that 20-second clock. And he hammers a line drive. Here's Smart from his 33. and gang tackled and brought down quickly. An 8-yard return as the long snapper Jocelyn Fournette makes the tackle. There's Matt Dominguez, the leading receiver in the CFL. At midseason when he was cut down by a knee injury, he has stayed with his team and is on the sidelines, as you can see, helping to coach up that receiving corps, giving them tendencies of the BC secondary.
And we talked about how BC survived and built with all their quarterback issues. Saskatchewan did it, but they did it with the receivers.
And the kid right next to him, Andy Fantouge, picked up the slack. 9 touchdowns in the last 9 games since Dominguez departed. And Joe Smith is caught in the backfield by Reggie Hunt, who is having another red-letter day in these playoffs.
Last week in the semi against Calgary, we talked about the gauntlet being thrown down. Reggie Hunt, by that man, Richie Hall, said, we need you to be active. If you're not active on our defense, you really aren't a factor. But when you start playing like you can, because you got tremendous athletic ability, you can make plays like that, and you can help our defense. For the last 2 weeks, Mark, he's been making those plays.
He's a West All-Star, and you know what? 1 week ago, he was a runner-up for Defensive Player of the Week with 6 tackles, a sack, and a forced fumble against Calgary. Second down, 14 for Dickinson. Under pressure, the ball is away and complete to Simon, and Simon is wrapped up quickly by Lance Frazier, and so it's 2 and out for this BC offense.
Lance Frazier and Eddie Davis, the 2 halfbacks of Saskatchewan, have got their hands full when you got to take J.C. Claremont or G. Simon. But watch this. He sits, and as soon as that ball's delivered, he goes and he grabs and he hangs on and brings him down short of the first down. That is a great job of keeping the receiver in front of you.
G. Simon with 107 yard per game average over the last 8 games of the season. Has a touchdown here, but has been held in check. Just 3 catches for 33 yards. Paul McCallum punting for BC, angling it. He shanked it off the side of his foot, and it'll bounce out of bounds in front of the BC bench at the 43-yard line. Big Tyrone Williams on that D line. He's mic'd up. Let's see what he's thinking right now.
Mic'd Up, brought to you by Rogers, Canada's most reliable wireless network.
No doubt. Hey, we only needed 2 and 0. We need to not give them any yards, man. No field goals, nothing, all right? Oh, come on. Yeah. Whoa. I like that. Okay, well, do what you think is best, man. Here we go, man. Here we go.
They couldn't stop Saskatchewan on their first 3 drives of this half. They stopped them on the last drive. Let's see what happens next. Joseph loading up, throwing downfield for Palmer. He's open and can't make the catch. The ball was thrown on his inside shoulder. There was nobody between him and the end zone.
This is simply misjudging the ball. But, I mean, it starts off, Chris Zarka, great job of blocking on Wake to allow Joseph, who jumps up thinking, I got the biggest play of the day going right now. And Michael Palmer simply does not judge that ball as he can't come back to it.
Holy mackerel. And Joseph can't believe the opportunity missed there, and neither can his coach. 2nd and 10. 4 receivers wide side. Rolling that way is Joseph. Throwing the deep ball. Another mix-up, and Ryan Phillips can't track it down. And Palmer again was the receiver in the neighborhood. 2 and out, just like Tyrone Williams asked for. And the defense makes a stand, but it was the offense of Saskatchewan that really blew it.
Well, the offense shut themselves down. They forced this funny situation because I believe had Michael Palmer been able to come back and adjusted his ball, it would have been a big, huge play. Now, maybe it was a little underthrown, but the fact is he's so wide open, and we've seen a number of times that, and you know what, that Ken Austin's saying is missed opportunity. You can't have those.
That could have been the game right there. Another touchdown to pad the lead. Short punt to the 28. In smart, dangerous, and tracked down. Neil Hughes, who has a touchdown, and now a big special teams tackle to limit that return to 9. Don't forget to log on to cbcsports.ca during the second half and cast your vote for Warrior of the Game. Let us know who played with grit, character, and leadership and commitment
One of your 3 C's, big man. As Warrior of the Game, we'll let you know who wins. It's brought to you by the all-new 2007 GMC Sierra Professional Grade. Dave Dickinson and a sputtering BC offense. First down at their own 40. Dickinson in the shotgun. Short drop. He gets the ball away quickly to Geroy Simon in front of James Johnson. He has the catch and a first down with a gain of 12. You know, talking about Dave Dickinson, last year in 4 games against the Saskatchewan Roughriders, he lost 3 of them, Chris. He threw 9 touchdown passes in those 4 games, but he lost 3 of 4 against the Saskatchewan defense. And don't forget, he was knocked out in the 4th game by Scotty Schultz and knocked out in his first encounter this year by Fred Perry. Dickinson pumping. Now he just outlets the ball to Joe Smith. And Joe Smith is surrounded. Mike McCullough makes the tackle as McCullough has come into the football game now in relief of Maurice Lloyd. And Lloyd has been playing with an abdominal problem for most of the late stages of this season.
Well, he's been one of the true warriors in that defense. Another guy that I've liked the way he showed up today is John Chick. Boy, he's had a great game. Reggie Hunt's come to play. This defense, as you say, has given this BC offense some troubles.
Dickinson now in the hurry up. Scott Gordon comes to the line of scrimmage, now drops off, and a flag down, and procedure will be the call against the BC Lions as the crowd tries to stay quiet to help the quarterback.
Procedure, BC number 69. 5-yard penalty, repeat, second down.
Well, that's Lauren Plant who's in there, and he's playing at that right guard. But it's a situation when you get a new guy in there, Mark, and the defense is moving around and they're shuffling, and they got a blitz coming, and as a result, he's going to move because he's starting to react to all the movement by the defense. It's just inexperience.
Statistically, the Saskatchewan Roughriders are 10-2 this year when leading at the start of the 4th quarter. Under Wally Buono, the Lions are 7-13 when they're in arrears. Dickinson firing. What a hit as Jason Claremont takes a haymaking right from Reggie Hunt and can't hold on to the football.
Oh, that was unbelievable contact right there by Reggie Hunt, who just comes across and times it perfectly. And this is a horse to bring down.
He got the worst of it, Chris.
Well, Claremont's a big man. Reggie Hunt just does a nice thing. His nickname is the Grim Reaper. And I think he got a little bit out of his own, but what a job of not only dislodging the ball, but the helmet off Jason Claremont.
Let's listen in. That's sudden impact.
You know what? After I see that, I want to go get chest protector up here.
You're holding on to your ribs.
Oh, that's a great shot. And that's what you need out of your defense. You hope that Reggie Hunt, who's played a whale of a game, is okay. He's down. He's up on one knee, but he'll have to leave. It'll be for 3 plays.
Look at that. He's got stuff all over his face after taking that shot and losing his helmet. Hunt's still down. But this, what a game, a physical game this has been. The Riders have had no less than 4 or 5 defenders go down and have to be helped off the field in this game. Hunt, one of them. We saw Lance Frazier go down, James Johnson as well, and another look at that shot that took the helmet right off of Claremont and separated the football.
Mark, you know, I say this to all the young receivers across watching this game. If you want to be a receiver in this league, you got to be tough enough to go across the middle and expect to get hits like this. And I tell you what a great hit by that man who definitely is a Warrior candidate, Reggie Hunt, today.
I bet you his little brother Aaron, there he is on the other side of the line of scrimmage, is probably respecting that shot and hoping his big brother's okay.
Well, he's quietly applauding. He was hoping that Claremont could have came up with a catch.
Sibling rivalry, one of the undercurrents to this football contest today. 8 minutes and ticking to go in the 4th quarter. And Saskatchewan leading by 9. Holmes backed up to his 10. Tries to get outside. Pottinger can't get him. And he's caught from behind. Jerome Dennis on a 51-yard punt limits the return to just 4.
Final of BC Place Stadium, where Saskatchewan leads by 9 with less than 8 minutes remaining. You know, noise was supposed to be a factor for the Roughriders, but they said if they got up on the lines like that, they thought they would take the crowd out of the game. We've been checking the decibel reader. It's been up near 107, which is close to that has been taken out of the game now with the big lead that Saskatchewan has and the clock ticking down. Mark?
Yes, with plays like that, Karen, that'll take the crowd out of the football game as Michael Palmer holds on for a 30-yard gain.
And Mark, it's all about protection. We talked about this, the task this offensive line would have, not only to hear the snap count, but to be able to buy protection for your quarterback, Kerry Joseph. A wonderful job there to allow him to find Michael Palmer. That's the play earlier, a couple series ago, they couldn't complete. This time they do.
Joseph, 214 yards passing and 2 touchdowns, 17 of 34 at 50% completions. Handing off, Wes Cates trying to negotiate that line of scrimmage, and Brent Johnson just drags him down with the power of one hand.
But the biggest thing that's happened so far is every time Saskatchewan's offense has started deep in their own end, they've made plays. They've got field position, so even if they stall on the offensive drive, they're winning the battle of field position. If it wasn't for Ian Smart and his return game, they'd basically be dominating.
2nd and 9 after the 1-yard carry by Wes Cates. Joseph trying to take time off the clock, stay on the field offensively. Look at the motion by the receivers of the Riders, and now the ball is away. DJ Flick hanging on. A great catch in front of Mark Washington, but there is a flag on the play, and this could be coming back.
Yeah, I think that Kerry Joseph went across the line of scrimmage. Nice job, but in all the distraction of everybody trying to bring him down, I think he stepped over the line when he threw that ball, and it's going to be brought back.
Illegal forward pass. Saskatchewan number 4. He's across the line of scrimmage when he threw the ball. A 10-yard penalty. Repeat, 2nd down.
Joseph protesting, but that'll be the 2nd time he's called for an illegal forward pass. I don't know, Chris. His back foot was behind the line of scrimmage.
You take a look. You take a look right there. As the ball is released, he's behind that line.
The front foot can be in the air, though.
That's right. I agree with you 100%. Will there be a challenge? And there is.
There is a challenge. Or at least Ken Austin's having words.
Well, there's
one of the officials. Al Bradbury, the head linesman, came over to the bench after the challenge flag was thrown, but that clearly shows that the ball was released behind the line of scrimmage.
And you know what? That's, Mark, it's all about the trust in your players, because as Kerry Joseph comes and talks to Ken Austin, he says, I was behind. Your coach has to believe that you're just not making a lie or making a statement to protect yourself. You have to be honest. If you're honest, he'll throw that flag.
So Glenn Johnson coming over to talk with the coach.
Saskatchewan is challenging the ruling on the field that the quarterback was over the line of scrimmage. I'll review the play.
Oh, this will be a huge play. I think it's a great call by Ken Austin. You got certain opportunities during the game where you have to throw the challenge. This is definitely one of them. Let's take another look. As he's planted, the ball is released. The follow-through foot comes down across the line, but the ball is gone, as you say, Mark. Therefore, from what we see, it looks like that should be a catch.
That was almost identical to the play at home last week on the 62-yard touchdown to DJ Flick. Now, we can see the virtual line of scrimmage marker right there.
Yep.
And it looks as though Joseph was behind when he let the ball go.
And you have to feel for the official as well, right? Because when the official's making that call live action, he doesn't see a virtual line. He only sees where the body position is, and if it looks like the body's over that initial line of scrimmage, he's got to throw the flag, and he did a good job calling it by throwing the flag. But now, because of instant replay, we can make the correct call.
That was just the 2nd catch for Flick that counts. We look at it from the end zone angle. In the seam, in front of Mark Washington. And the officials will not use the virtual line that you have seen at home that we use in television.
And that makes it all the more difficult. And that's why we say we can see it up here. And the official has to call it on the field without the virtual line. He doesn't get to see it in the booth as well.
Well, you can see his foot is behind the 45-yard line. And so that will be the line that they will use. We just talked to George Black, the head of officiating in the CFL. And he said that they will not use the virtual line of scrimmage to make this decision.
challenge is underway. And there is some discussion now as to whether the red line on the screen is on the right spot. You can see the ball is just across the 45.
Well, that makes all the difference in the world.
But the 45, look at the foot. Foot is behind the 45.
No, that's fine.
It's behind
red
the
line.
Based on the replays presented to me, there is no evidence to overturn the ruling on the field. Therefore, the play stands as called.
That is very surprising, Chris, as it did look as if the quarterback's foot, his plant foot, there's Jim Daly, head of operations, who helped make that call. It looked like his foot was behind the line of scrimmage, at least the 45.
Well, you made the correct call, Mark, and the fact that it's not where your throw foot comes after. Let's take a look.
The ball was on the 45. Watch his foot. There.
Oh, yeah, that's too bad.
So a 32-yard play is wiped out by that call. Jim Daly, a former Rough Rider head coach, in on that call as an official with the CFL. Westgate's in the flats, battling out there, wrestled down by Ryan Phillips. And the gain will be 1 yard.
Well, instead of getting a first down by DJ Flick, it puts him in a second down situation they can't convert, and Jamie Borham has to come on and punt. Just a little slide out there, trying to get one-on-one, but Westgate's doing everything he humanly can do to try and break that tackle, just can't get free.
Again, we're seeking more information on that call of the illegal forward pass as Ian Smart gets this catch at his own 30, and a shoestring tackle on the play, and it's the long snapper again, Jocelyn Fournette, with his second special teams tackle of this football game. Tuesday at 8, former Prime Minister Jean Chrétien teaches Rick a thing or two about reading a good book. While over at Little Mosque on the Prairie, paranoia runs rampant in Mercy. An all-new episode at a special day and time, Tuesday at 8:30 on CBC. Dave Dickinson has had tremendous field position in this game, but has been unable to generate anything but a touchdown, and that was after that 77-yard return by Smart set him up at the 11. There's a crossing route wide open, and another vicious hit at midfield as Corey Rogers holds on and has a BC first down. But look at this, Chris. BC started at their 42, the Saskatchewan 11, their own 45, 42, and 40 on their previous 5 series, and haven't been able to be very productive.
Well, that means that you've got to give credit to the Saskatchewan defense, who have done a nice job of taking away anything that Dave Dickinson is trying to do.
At midfield, Dickinson straight back to pass, firing, and Jason Claremont has the catch after being pulverized by Reggie Hunt on the last series.
Well, with 4:30 and ticking, Dave is trying to get his offense up and set quickly to take the advantage of most of the time he has left on the clock, looking to go in the underbelly, the middle of that Saskatchewan defense.
2nd and 4 for the Lions. Dickinson against the blitz, escapes Perry, and is caught by Chunky Adams with his first sack of the game.
And you've been waiting to say that name. Well, I'll tell you what, Marcus Adams is a force out there. He's done a nice job, 6 sacks this year. He really is a force on that defensive tackle. Take a look at his sacks this afternoon.
4 sacks against Dave Dickinson since coming in late in the second quarter, Chris.
Well, it's all about staying where you have to be, and coverage sacks as well. That one, the fumble forced by Reggie Hunt, recovered by Kitwana Jones. But if your guys in the back, in your secondary and your linebackers are doing a good job, that forces your quarterback to hold the ball. You see G. Roy Simon getting a little attention over that, looks like left eye.
May have got some of those rubber pellets that are in the turf, and he's having a lot of difficulty. Bill Rochelle helps him out. We got an official ruling from George Black about that pass by Joseph over the line of scrimmage. George Black, the head of officiating, says it's the release point is where they mark it. Now,
well, I mean, that's fine, Mark. We saw the release point. We're not here to bash him. God knows they know it's a tough job. But we saw the release point, and from as far as I was concerned, the release point was behind the line. But hey, you know, they're paid to make those calls, and those calls were made now, and that's history. Can't do nothing about it anymore.
So 4 sacks against Dave Dickinson, a total of 6 sacks allowed by the Lions here today, and 53 yards lost on those sacks.
Let go.
As Paul McCallum is forced to punt with 3:50 and counting to go in the 4th quarter. Holmes cuts up the middle of the field, head down. He's got that bad shoulder, and he's tackled from behind. Otis Floyd in on the play. Tyrone Williams trying to get this defense stoked to hold the fort and get the ball back. Let's check back in with him.
Mike Dunn, brought to you by Rogers, Canada's most reliable wireless network.
Yards, baby. Here we go. We about to score. Watch. We're not losing. We're not about to lose to these guys, I guarantee you.
Tyrone Williams with some bravado at the BC bench. They need a stand here. Clock running, 3:29 and ticking. A 2-score game. A handoff to Wes Cates, and he is just thrown to the turf. And it's Otis Floyd who makes the tackle to limit that run to just 1.
It seemed like there was a little bit of a timing issue on that handoff with Kerry Joseph and Cates. Didn't look like it was run efficiently, but I mean, the nice thing I liked is at least Cates secured that ball, knowing that he's going into that defensive line, and they're all trying to strip the ball.
How about that? Fans here in the House of Orange are already leaving in section 34. 2nd and 9. It's a big 2nd and long situation for Kerry Joseph. 3-man rush. BC drops 9. Joseph confused, and Cameron Wake has him. His 4th sack of the football game for the sackmaster of the CFL. The 3-minute warning has been issued at BC Place as the Lions are set to get the ball back. Cameron Wake has tied a CFL playoff record with his 4th sack of the football game, but he's rather subdued on that bench with the Lions trailing. There's the company he's in, some good company. Grover Covington, Stu Laird, and your former teammate.
Yeah, 1984 against these BC Lions.
Tony Norman, a low snap, and Borum gets it away. Smart has room at the 40. Here comes Lloyd, and shoved out of bounds. Yannick Carter, the special teams leader in tackles for Saskatchewan, pushes Smart out of bounds. There is a flag at the 50-yard line.
Well, that might be going against the BC Lions, which will force their offense to start a little further back. Mark Washington seems to think it's against Saskatchewan.
Lloyd injured. He's battling those abdominal problems. What a warrior, Chris. Has stayed in uniform and in this game, but can't play on defense right now as they have Mike McCullough in at middle linebacker in his stead.
Well, it is against the Saskatchewan Roughriders as they're talking over the options with Dave Dickinson, the offensive captain.
Legal interference, Saskatchewan 17. Prior to the ball being caught, that penalty is declined. BC first down.
Dave Dickinson now needs to work his mastery against Kent Austin and the Roughriders. 2:26 to go in the football game at a 26-17 lead for the underdog Riders of Saskatchewan. Great field position for BC. First down at their own 51-yard line. Dickinson has had great field position all game. Short drop in the flats to Joe Smith. Smith barreling upfield, and a terrific first down play. They'll have a gain on that one of 7 yards, and the Lions in hurry-ups in this situation. Dickinson getting the cooperation of the crowd here. They're staying quiet as he calls the plays at the line of scrimmage. 2nd and 3. Dickinson looking for the sidelines to stop the clock. T-Roy Simon is tackled by James Johnson and forced out of bounds. And they'll mark his forward movement past the marker, and a first down.
Well, they're only 9 points down, so they're a 2-score football right now. Touchdown and a field goal.
Dickinson now barking the signals. 4 receivers wide side. He's looking short side, pumping and sacked the 5th time. Fred Perry, who knocked out Dave Dickinson on July 13th and put him out of football for 3 months, has the 5th sack against this quarterback here today, and it's a loss of 8 yards.
And Fred Perry, who they have said, Fred, we know you're out there, you're making all the tackles. First sack in the last 5 football games. He was very frustrated. He says, I'm always around the quarterback. Just time I get there, they're getting rid of the ball. But
this was the scene back in the summer, Chris, as Fred Perry delivered this shot to the face mask of Dave Dickinson that knocked him silly. The concussion kept him out of football for 3 months. Kitwana Jones and Fred Perry have been terrorizing the quarterbacks with pressure all games.
Well, I'll tell you what, Fred Perry's done a great job. The guy that we haven't given a lot of credit, Schultz and Marcus Adams in the middle. But how about the game also, John Chick on that outside?
A big play here for BC. 2nd and 18. Dickinson standing flat-footed, firing a look in to Corey Rogers, incomplete. Rogers wants a flag. There are no flags as Lance Frazier makes the play in the secondary. 3rd down.
We're in 3-down football right now, Mark, with 1:57. You got to go for it right now. Here comes the play. Here comes the season for the Roughriders right here.
Have a look at the incompletion. Dave Dickinson was talking about his future this week, Chris, and he said this could be my last game, and it's not just because we could be eliminated. There are other issues, contractual issues. There's no guarantee I'll be back. You'd like to go out the right way. The tough thing is very few guys go out on top. I had that option last year if I wanted to with the Grey Cup, but I still feel I've got some more football in me. What's he got left in the final 2 minutes of this West Final? And flags are down.
Oh, and Rob Murphy, the Western nominee for outstanding O-lineman, just stands up and walks back and says, oh, that's me. I'm caught. And we've just made this job even harder.
BC number 56. 5-yard penalty. Repeat 3rd down.
And there's the irony that the Lions get a procedure call in their own park where the Riders overcame that kind of trouble early against this deafening crowd. 3rd down and 23 situation for BC. 1:57 to go. Dickinson, a deep drop in the pocket, throwing downfield for Claremont, incomplete and busted up. Kyle McKenzie, the backup sophomore out of Massachusetts, with a huge play on defense. And BC will turn the ball over on downs. Their 5th turnover of this game.
Well, I'll tell you what, McKenzie does a nice job of turning to face the ball at the very last second. Dickinson's going to step up, throw the ball. He's intending to get it down there, but a nice job of Anton McKenzie to just get that hand up, play the ball, face inside, not hit the receiver, and there's it. All goes right there. And all Coach Wally Buono can do is just say, well, we had our opportunity. This is a team, Mark, that had 15 All-Stars, a club record. And they went against a team that seems to be the fairy tale story of the year in Saskatchewan.
The Lions have 5 of the 6 Western nominees for most outstanding player. The only one they didn't have was the quarterback for Saskatchewan, Kerry Joseph. And a look at this disconsolate BC bench with 1:44 to go and trailing by 2 scores.
I want to talk about one thing that the game was so quick off the start. Remember Ken Austin and Paula Police, he coached in Toronto in 2004 and 5 when they had to go into the Big O in that hostile, and they had to work against the noise. And they had worked on that, saying we're going to do something here today that'll effectively take the crowd out of it. They did a nice job.
Joseph looking to run it himself with this slide at midfield as Cam Wake makes the tackle. But this quarterback has carried this team on his shoulders all year, and another yeoman's effort here today as we update your game notes.
Well, we talked about it right there. Negate the noise. They had to take the BC crowd of 55,000 out. They scored the first 10 points in the opening quarter. I don't care what's off turnovers. You put the points on the board. Superman must double G-Roy Simon, hottest BC receiver. He had 5 catches, 50 yards. He did have a touchdown, but really was held in check all afternoon.
Well, all season long in the 3-game series, the home team never won in games between Saskatchewan and BC. And with 107 and counting to go here today, it looks like that form will continue in the biggest game of the year in the West, this West Division final.
And Mark, who would have thought that the Grey Cup could feature 2 Prairie towns, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and congratulations to them earlier, and with a minute left here, Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Yes, not just the town, the entire province of Saskatchewan. Right now with their fingers crossed in the last minute of play as we update your game notes, Chris Walby, on the BC side.
Well, we talked about this Joe Michaud. We're talking about Joe Smith, the one-man wrecking crew. He had 12 touches, 74 yards. Really not a factor. They used him early, but they really got behind the 8 ball and they had to go away from him. On defense, fantastic 4. Hey, 41 sacks. Wake, he did his part, 4 quarterback sacks, but they didn't get enough pressure. Kerry Joseph did everything he had to do to get away from the pressure and made plays, and that's what's got them here, and that's what's going to get them to the cup.
1:01 to go, and Saskatchewan beginning to celebrate on their bench as Jamie Borum gets set to punt. The Saskatchewan Roughriders were beaten handily last year, 45-18 in this game by BC, and look at the punt by Borum. Thad Crawford back at his 8-yard line to pick it up, gets a block from Baron Miles and goes nowhere. Stuffed at the 10-yard line, but there is a flag on the play back near Jamie Borum, the punter.
Well, an interesting call. They put everybody on the line of scrimmage and they're going after the block. But I still don't understand why you wouldn't have Ian Smart at least have the option to try and return this. He has been a very dangerous returner all afternoon for the BC Lions, and potentially could break it and still be in this game.
Roughing the kicker, BC number 25. 15-yard penalty. First down.
That's Dennis, Jerome Dennis.
Frustration continuing for Wally Buono.
They're running the blitz. It's an all-out blitz, and you see him, he just rolls into him.
3 times Saskatchewan has faced BC in the West Division final, and they look like they're on their way to their first win since 1997. Remember in 2004 with Henry Burris at quarterback, BC won a thriller 27-25 over Saskatchewan, denying them a chance to go to the cup. But now Kyle McKenzie and the Riders can taste it. The first Prairie Grey Cup ever is in the offing. Wes Cates, who came into this game and played with a broken foot, hauls the mail to what looks like another first down.
And I hope the city of Toronto puts on a great show. I know the Argonauts are on it. Congratulations to them for their season. But hey, get ready, because you've got Prairie folk coming down there. Everybody from Manitoba and Saskatchewan. Woo, it's going to be a party.
It'll be wild. The Riders always make the Grey Cup a festival, and so do the Bombers. And the celebration is on in Saskatchewan with 32 seconds to go. And Tyrone Williams in a state of resignation. Joseph taking time off the clock, and Kerry Joseph taking the waning minutes off. A painful time for Jason Claremont and the Lions. Head-to-head this season. What a battle back in Labor Day as Kerry Joseph won the game in the dying seconds with that quarterback sneak. And then the rematch was all Winnipeg as Charles Roberts had a field day.
And remember this, though. Kevin Glenn broke his left arm today, and he's got an arm cast from the shoulder down. So that's...
And that's the game as the Riders celebrate. And Kent Austin, the rookie head coach, defeats the master, Wally Buono, in an upset here in the West Final. 26-17. A beaten-up team that has ridden on the shoulders of their veteran quarterback, Kerry Joseph. Joseph has been called one of the biggest competitors Kent Austin has ever seen. Very few players, Austin says, play at his level with a respect and heart and attitude that Joseph has shown. And he has led his team to the Grey Cup for the first time in 10 years. An all-Prairie Grey Cup in Toronto. Saskatchewan versus Winnipeg. And sophomores like Andy Van Duze have gotten the Riders there, picking up the slack and filling the void left by the injury to Matt Dominguez. Amid the celebrations, here's Kerry Joseph with Karen.
Kerry Joseph just getting a big embrace from the head coach, Ken Austin. Let me see if I can get in here and grab him. Kerry, it wasn't always an oil painting, but it was good enough to get your team to the Grey Cup.
Yeah, well, it wasn't pretty, but we know it was going to be a slugfest. They're a good football team in a tough place. But you know what? As long as that scoreboard showed us in our favor, that's what we came here for. We thank God for this one. Thank God.
No one gave your team much of a chance to win this game. How did you do it?
We just kept believing. We believe in ourselves and believe what we can get done. And we've been doing that all year long, facing adversity. And we here. We going to the Grey Cup.
You left some money on the table to stay there. Is this worth it now? And what do you think's happening back in Rider Nation?
It's great. It's really worth it right now. We thank God for this. You know what? Rider Nation, they deserve it. We all going to Toronto, baby.
How much do you relish in this victory before thinking about the big game next weekend?
I'm going to enjoy this one all the way back to Saskatchewan, all the way back.
Thank you, Kerry. Mark, back up to you.
What a journey for Kerry Joseph. 5 years ago, he was playing flag football and coaching high school football when he got a chance to rekindle his career in Canada, and he's going to the Grey Cup with Saskatchewan for the first time.
David, what's next week's game going to be called?
Hey, y'all, get in the back of the pickup truck. We're going to take the Banjo Bowl uptown.
For the first time ever, Saskatchewan and Winnipeg, those fierce rivals, are going to meet for the Grey Cup. The warrior of the game, I think you have a pretty good idea of who the winner is going to be. He had 500 yards last week, a little fewer this week, 252, 18 of 35, 209 yards, 2 touchdowns. 5 carries for 43 yards. I think everybody will be stunned if on Thursday night he isn't adding the most outstanding player to his hardware. Kerry Joseph is your warrior.
Warrior of the game, brought to you by the all-new 2007 GMC Sierra, professional grade.
Henry Burris, 14 wins this year for the BC Lions, but 4 bad turnovers kill them today.
That goes to show you that on any given Sunday, you turn the ball over, you don't make the big plays. Doesn't matter how good you are, you will lose.
Well, and definitely, Saskatchewan won the line of scrimmage in the second half. 5 sacks for Saskatchewan versus only 1 sack from a very powerful defensive front in the first half of the BC Lions. Shut down only 1 sack by Cam Wake in the second.
They put together 60 minutes of hell in order to win this game, and it was completely amazing. I think they pretty much shocked the world.
Jeremy O'Day holding the Western Division Championship. 2 stats to notice. In the second half, Saskatchewan took only 1 noise penalty, and in the second half, Henry, only 2 carries for Joe Smith.
And that was key because Joe Smith was pounding the ball all in the first half, you know, taking a lot of pressure off of Jarius. And then for Dave, he needed that balance also, but he just didn't get it. And that's why guys like Chick and the guys up front for Saskatchewan were able to tee off and get some important sacks.
I remember Eric Tillman told me at the beginning of the year, and I didn't want to say anything all year. He said, David, this team is special. This reminds me of the '94 Lions that he was the general manager for, and I didn't believe him at the time, but he said that at the beginning of the year.
You know, the '94 Lions won 1 more game than Saskatchewan has now, so just careful. Don't make the comparison yet. Greg?
Well, just going back to Joe Smith, you know what? The backbone of that team offensively has always been Joe Smith. And you know what? Going into the second half, when Dick Dickinson came into the game, like you said, Elliot, it moved away from it. And that, I think, was a mistake because that's what makes this offense run.
The Saskatchewan Roughriders will face the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in the Grey Cup. That's Matt Dominguez injured, getting his chance to hold the trophy. Congratulations to Rider fans and to Eric Tillman watching at home. We'll continue with a look back at the East next.